Live tonight from Concord, North Carolina's Charlotte Motor Speedway, the drivers of the Real Sim Racing, a Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Gary Mercer Trucking and SimVibe by Sim Experience get back on track after a week off as the second segment begins for over 200 miles of action tonight. Under the lights, it all comes to you next. We look to go green when we return. The FTC Charlotte 225 is coming up right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live.
Did you know the lion's sense of vision is so powerful, it actually enables nearby creatures to see better? Here we see lions assisting the offspring of others, while their parents are elsewhere in the wild. Brilliant, isn't it? Making the wild kingdom look much better indeed. Do good, be a lion.
Good evening, Sim Racing fans, and welcome to LSRTV's continuing coverage of the 2016 RSR Full Throttle Cup Series. We're happy to have you with us tonight for some under the lights racing action for the virtual Charlotte Speedway. This is round number 12 and the FTC Charlotte 225. Happy to have you with us back after an off week just 1 week ago for Memorial Day weekend. Cars back on track, 150 laps, 225 miles of exciting sim racing action coming to you next right here on LSRTV on iRacing Live, and we're happy to have you with us as we get set to go racing for the 12th time on the 2016 campaign, and do want to welcome you topside into the LSRTV broadcast booth. Joining myself along with Brian Macklin, Justin Rose, and myself, Evan Pasoko, topside with producer Cisco Scaramuza downstairs. We are getting set for Charlotte, Justin. This is a track that on the real world side of things, obviously in NASCAR's backyard, and on the sim side of things, everybody knows how to get around this joint. You'll go to certain tracks and certain drivers are really good at, certain drivers really don't like some tracks. This is a mutual ground, if you will. The lights are on, the sun is down, the temperature is very cool tonight. It means it's going to be a lot of bad, fast, and close racing all the way through 150 laps tonight, start to finish.
Yeah, especially with the second oldest surface on a mile-and-a-half racetrack, the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Very, very similar to Atlanta in the fact that it is a very, very steep banked mile-and-a-half, and then you have to add in the fact that it's a little bit narrower than Atlanta, so it's going to be a little bit close quarters. Your trouble spots going to be especially getting into turn 1 and a little bit off of turn 2, but turn 4 really going to be the biggest trouble spot of the night, guys trying to get on the loud pedal and stand on her and try to keep those rear tires glued to the racetrack. So a lot of these drivers certainly know how to do it, but every now and then the most experienced drivers do get caught out from time to time.
We'll break down some of the keys to the FTC Charlotte 225, but we'll do that when we come back. Qualifying just about in the books, so we'll toss things down trackside for tonight's opening ceremonies and down with Jaden Berkey for the performance of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare
With that, we are ready to rock and roll under the lights at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. So let's take a look trackside at tonight's Gary Mercer Trucking starting lineup. The single car qualifying session going to lead to a best lap of a 27.537 by 1/1000th of a second. It's going to be the number 24 Napa Chevrolet, Thomas J. George on a pole position, and just that sliver behind, and going to be to the outside of the front row. You'll find the 9 of Anthony DeBarro. Joseph Tice going to roll from inside of row 2. The 29 will start, 25 rather, going to start in third tonight with Scott Eckridge to the outside. The 70 takes up P4. He was the fastest car in the practice session. Rounding out your top 5 in qualifying, good effort for the 12, Ross Cato.
The 54, Tim Matthews, flying the University of Kentucky colors, rolls off 6th. 7th goes to the 45 of Carl Shedd. The 69 of Corbin Hemstreet will roll off 8th. 9th spot goes to the 80 of Mike Kelly. And rounding out the top 10, the 26 of Jose Gonzalez.
Scott Simley is going to start P11 here tonight, and to his outside, Christopher Hurlow will start P12. Dwayne Vincent, the defending series champion, he's going to start 13th. Stephanie Lessentine will start 14th, and rounding out the top 15, Nelson Rivera.
Just behind P16, going to go to the 2 of Rhett McBride, Shane Ewing, and David Washington. Going to be back on P17 at 18. They make up row number 9. 19th position and qualified for the 99 of Stanford Baranek. Dan Murray rounds out your top 20.
The Amsoil Chevrolet of Greg Evans will roll off 21st. The 91 Nerfinator of Steve Gottschalk will roll off 22nd. The 23rd spot goes to the Lowe's Chevrolet of Kevin Linden. The 88 of Kyle Taraskin, the Chick-fil-A colors, will roll off 24th. And rounding out the top 25 will be the number 20 of A.J. Browning.
Nick Silver will start 26th here tonight. Doug Roth is 27th. Scott Stenzel will start 28th. Adam Blattle will start 29th. And rounding out the top 30, that's Mitch Rollo. Michael Priester is the last guy that took a time. The rest of these drivers took provisionals. You'll see the rest of their names roll across your screen in just a second. Evan, we're about to go green here. There's a lot of real pretty stars and stripes paint schemes out here tonight. And Steve Herring is doing a really cool thing tonight. He's donating money for every lap led by a driver that's running one of these stars and stripes cars. And if one of these guys goes to victory lane, he's going to double that money.
And you do see a lot of those patriotic paint schemes. Charlotte weekend, a lot on the sim as well on the real world side of things over the weekend for Memorial Day weekend. These guys had the week off, so it's their turn to break out the red, white, and blue here tonight at Charlotte. And we're so happy to have you joining us for this presentation of LSRTV on iRacing Live. We get set to kick off the second segment on 2016, and we get set to drop the green flag on race number 12. The pace car makes a sharp left-hand turn, down and away, and gone from the pole. Green flag for Thomas George, and underway from Charlotte.
Thomas George in those special D-Day colors 72 years ago today. The Allied forces stormed the Normandy beaches, and Thomas George storms away from the front of the pack. He's got about 3 car lengths over Anthony DeBarro. A good side-by-side battle for third. The 70 of Scott Eckridge trying to take it away from the 25 of Joseph Tice on the high side. It's all Thomas George as he leads the field through turn 4.
You'll go high, coming up off of the quarter, and lap number 1 in the bonus point. In the back pocket, your pole sitter Thomas George controls the opening lap of competition. Anthony DeBarro, he's not letting him get away, though. They're on the bumper in a battle for the race lead. Behind them, Joseph Tice, Scott Eckridge, they battle for the number 3 spot, and up front, side by side, crossover, side by side for the point, just at lap number 2, and Anthony DeBarro's going to clear him on the inside.
And power move right there by Anthony DeBarro, powering around Thomas George to take the lead, and he'll be the first lead change of the night here. Anthony DeBarro to the point, and these two drivers have a little bit of history. They've had their problems on and off the track in the last year and a half or so. Could be interesting to see what happens between them. And we already have a caution here on the racetrack at the back of the track. I didn't see the number, but we already, the 41 I'm hearing is around off turn 2. That's Adam Blattle.
Blattle, one of the first drivers around in the Amsoil machine, and he got up into the fence, and it snowballed from there. Caution flies just 3 laps in. We're going to take a second look at all of that down in turns number 1 and 2 on our LSR TV replay in just a moment. Looked like he went into the corner on the outside, and the car just got out of shape. He went up into the outside fence. You get a second look at it now, Justin. Really no way, though, for him to hang on to that Ford Fusion. It bounced down off of the fence, and absolutely nowhere for Sean Castro to go to the number 1 Chevrolet. He tags him. The Donnie machine going to get involved as well. That's Daniel Eberhardt, Mike Montesi not able to get away. So the initial contact started with 1 car. It snowballed, and at least 5 guys could end up with some significant damage at a 2.
Yeah, you can add in the 34 machine of Sean Boundy as well, the 30 of Josu Telez as well. Those guys all getting involved here in the early caution. Somewhere around 7 or 8 cars involved in that incident going into turn 1 on lap number 3. And that will put us underneath the caution flag for the first time, and his driver's going to have to come down and get service on their cars. Heavy damage on a lot of these cars that got wadded up down there at the bottom of turn 2.
But early caution flag here, going to give those guys involved, obviously, an opportunity to come down pit side. The question is if your leaders think that pit service is going to be necessary, and with it being so young into the race for the majority, they all say no. However, Tice from the number 3 spot, Brian, comes down pit road, going to lose tons of track position.
Yeah, that's an interesting call. They didn't run very many laps, so I can't imagine that the tires, and we're actually hearing that he didn't come to pit road. He might have faked everybody out, but he's not on pit road right now. He's going to keep his 3rd position. But it would have been an interesting call. I'm hearing the 70 of Scott Eckridge. We had our numbers backwards. It sounds like Mr. Pasoko was having some Jacob Seelman math there for a minute.
But we're only 3 laps in. It's already started.
It's an interesting call to give up the track position that early on. We haven't had very many laps on these tires at all, so I don't really see this working in his favor unless he just wanted to go to the back to maybe try to figure something out. Maybe he's not happy with his car right now and just figured he could get back there and get into a rhythm and try to work his way back to the front. I'm not really sure about that one. It's going to be interesting to see. We'll have to keep an eye on him. We'll have to see where he ends up when scoring resets here. He'll be coming across the line in just a second, so we'll find out very shortly where he's going to be, and we'll have to keep an eye on this one.
Yeah, he came down. He was the 4th car in line coming off of that turn as opposed to the top 3. Top 3 all stayed out. A couple of the guys came down with him, and I think at that point when it came down, so many other drivers stayed out. You could argue, all right, to toss 2 tires on it and get back out there, but at that point, you don't even get the benefit of coming down for service, so he decides to go with the 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles, gets back out on the racetrack and find himself to the inside of row number 8, right now scored in 15th position as lights go off out on top of the pace car. We get set for the first restart on the night as we put 6 laps away.
Down the back straightaway they go. Anthony DeBarro, Thomas George, Joseph Tice, Ross Cato, your top 4. The American Childhood Cancer Organization pace car leads the field down into turn number 3. We'll wait for the pace car to make that hard left-hand turn down onto pit road. It's pretty much anybody's guess, but we have to keep in mind on this restart, there's a lot of history between DeBarro and George. Those 2 drivers have come to blows on the virtual racetrack multiple times here, and that will be something we'll have to watch over the course of the evening. As the field comes out of turn number 4, the American Childhood Cancer Organization pace car makes the hard left-hand turn down to pit road. Field in the hands of Anthony DeBarro, and they are back underneath the green flag as they come up to the gearbox one more time. Anthony DeBarro going to get the break just barely over Thomas George, who's hot in his tire tracks through turns 1 and 2.
Just as we saw the drop of the first green flag, drive on the inside. Control car, no problem getting clear. Remember, the 24 led the opening lap before DeBarro put the move on him. The 9 going to lead the opening lap off of the restart. He'll take lap number 7. This time at turn number 4. We'll see if Thomas George can repay the favor from earlier on. He trails behind in second by a distance of just 1/10 of a second. Joseph Tice hangs on to P3. You got Ross Cato started 5th. He jumps up to 4th. With the absence of the trip down pit lane for the 70 of Scott Eckridge, who is right now back in 14th position, does have the fresher tires. We're going to have to see as these guys single file out rather quickly off of this first American Ethanol restart on the night, just how good those 4 tires are going to be when you're talking about just 2.5 laps of fall off after a very quick and short opening stint.
Yeah, he hasn't really made a lot of time yet. He's up to 12th now. He gained a couple of positions. Corbin Hemstreet, though, is really struggling. He's up on the wall right now. I was watching him right before that happened, and he was really having a hard time handling that car. He got loosed out in turn 4 about a lap and a half ago and lost a ton of track position. And now that he's up in the wall, he's going to pretty much drop all the way to the back, and he's got some heavy right side damage on that number 69 machine. He's going to be looking for a caution to get that car on pit road to try to get some of that damage fixed, but really struggling with that number 69 machine early on. But back to Scott Eckridge, he's right now sitting in the 12th position. I just don't think the tires are going to play that big of a factor at this point. If we'd had more laps on him, it would have worked out for him, but I think it's going to just be the speed in his car that's going to get him back to the front at this point. I don't think the tires are going to help it. He's moving to the outside now of the number 96 machine of Mitch Rollo as they come off turn 4. Tries to pinch him down and get that run down the straightaway. He's got a good run, and he's going to take that position away, and now he's going to see if he can't creep his way up into the top 10.
And these guys went through and around the three-wide scenario behind, trying to avoid those couple of cars that got up into the fence down in turns 1 and 2, and that was exactly what we saw that really kick-started the opening accident. Got into the corner, entered high, almost got to come over a little bit of a hump there to get down into the corner. Even if you're on the inside, car got a little bit upset in the fence. Not the first time we've seen it, and not, I expect, to be the last time. We'll see it on the evening, but plenty of battling going on right around these couple of spots. That 70 of Eckridge, he still fights with the 80 Mike Kelly, and in front of them, the 77 of Stephanie Lesentine. She's already up 5 spots, wants to make it a 6th. Goes to the inside on Jose Gonzalez, can't make the move that time, and now in front of them, some more battling going on. The 54 of Tim Matthews, he'll drop to the inside of Ross Cato, side by side for P4.
Side by side for that 4th spot across the start-finish line. Give the edge to the 54 of Tim Matthews. He's going to try to bring along the 87 of Christopher Hurlow. Hurlow going to go to the inside of the We the People Chevrolet. And he's going to do very well. He's going to he almost cleared the nose there of the number 12 there of Ross Cato. And Cato fighting back on the high side. He's going to go wheel to wheel with Hurlow. And he's stacking up a lot of cars behind them, including defending series champion, the 13 of Dwayne Vincent. He also had the 77 of Stephanie Lesentine as well, stacked up behind that battle. It's a great battle for P5 as they're wheel to wheel heading off into 1.
Still side by side in the center of the corner. This battle nearly now 2 seconds behind up at the front of the field, and on the inside getting the job done. Yes, sir, Christopher Hurlow. Well, he did have a nose in front at the start finish on it. Now is up and in front of the 12 Ross Cato. He maintains P5, and Dwayne Vincent on the inside. It's loose. He can't get back to the gas, and the 12 machine going to get the run covered off of the banking and maintains P6. And now Vincent having to deal with Stephanie Lesentine in the 7. Who is absolutely on a tear, and now she gets stuck as the 12 checks up. Swinging to the inside goes Scott Eckridge, and we find ourselves 2 wide, multiple rows deep once again.
Scott Eckridge trying to sneak his way through this field. He's climbing his way back to the front. He started up in the 4th position. Right now, when they cross the stripe, when the scoring updates, it looks like he's going to be moved up to the 7th position, and he's now trying to follow Dwayne Vincent, the series champion, through this field here. Doing a really good job getting through that traffic. That was a hairy moment. We have another hairy moment. 3 wide off turn 2. Ross Cato, Stephanie Lesentine. These guys are battling hard back here for these couple of positions inside the top 10. Not wanting to give an inch right now is Ross Cato. He has been holding these guys up for a handful of laps now, but not really wanting to give anything to them. He's fighting as hard as he can on the outside line. Here comes Greg Evans. We're on board with the 96 right now. I'm hearing with Mitch Rollo. You're going to see what he's seeing on the racetrack. This is intense battling here just on lap 17 of this very long race.
Yeah, and the picture out the rearview mirror is not much any clearer because they're 2-3 wide behind him as well. But that 12 of Cato, 21st best in the practice session, but had a really good Q effort to start top 5 to the inside of row 3. But he has been going backwards since we did get back.
Trouble, one car hard on the outside retaining wall. The 15-18 of Todd Witkowski got hard on the outside retaining wall, gathered it back up, still underneath the green flag, just lost the handle on the back end of his race machine off of turn number 4. Again, still underneath the green flag here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yeah, just they got into each other. Looked like the 88 touched the 18. He kisses it with the right rear quarter panel. He's able to hang on, and oh gosh, it is. At that point, most guys, I think, were getting to the inside, and luckily that didn't happen in front of that big pack that we had been following. They get a little bit single-filed out for the time being. It doesn't mean they're any more spread apart than they were, and the 12 once again going to have to deal with an attack to the inside of the racetrack. Here comes the 45, a Carl Shedd down the back.
Carl Shedd is really trying to battle hard here. Up towards the front, though, Scott Eckridge, he's making his way up towards the top 5. He's just going to work his way around Christopher Hurlow as they come off turn 4. He's going to take that 5th position away. Now he looks to the inside of Tim Matthews. He's trying to do the 2-for-1 special as they go down into turn 1. He dives to the bottom of the racetrack, makes the car stick, almost clears Tim. He will clear him. He's going to take that 4th position as they work off turn 2. Now he's got about a 2-second disadvantage to the race leaders, and the caution is out here at Charlotte.
Just as he was starting to see how good those tires would be, he gets back to where he was but problems behind with the number 32 Machine Shane Ewing. Going to bring out the second caution flag on the night, second time in a row. It happens down in turn 1, and that one almost identical to what we saw the first time. That's at least the third car we've seen get way out of shape to the entry of 1. He did a good job of hanging on to it. The problem was there was just 2 wide behind him, and the 20 and the 91 could not get around and split him in time, and it looks like Ewing gets turned up into the outside fence. 2 cautions, both coming in turn number 2.
Driver of the Rayovac Ford pretty much done for the night, parked it on the racetrack after everybody passed, and has made his way for the exits, and that's going to put us underneath the caution flag. For the second time, Anthony DeBarro still out front, but as that caution flag was flying, the 24, Thomas George, looked like he had the better long-run car. As the leaders do now come down to pit road, got the first 5, 6, 7, 8 cars, pretty much everybody here in the top 10 all coming down to pit road, as everybody experiencing a ton of fall-off with the softer tire.
And now we look for pit road to be a little bit busier than what we saw before, because they all come down. Eckrich, he got up to where he started from, and that's where he'll have to end. So he comes in fourth in line. Behind Tice, George, and DeBarro. Your race leader down to the number 2 pit stall. Right side tires going to go on for your top 5. Service going to go over to the left side as well. The race off of the pit lane going to go in favor of the number 9. The top 3 not going to shuffle for position.
Anthony DeBarro is going to easily win that race off of pit road, followed by Thomas George and then Joseph Tyson in the top 3. Scott Eckrich also comes out 4th, so pretty much everybody at the front stays where they're at. And Scott Eckrich was on rails there at that point of the run right before the caution came out. He was about 2 seconds behind these guys, and he was on his way. I still don't think that had to do with the fresh tires. I certainly just think that he had the speed to get up there. It's going to be very interesting to see now that he's back where he started, to see what he can do with these guys. Could make for a little bit of an interesting battle at the front. Anthony DeBarro and Thomas George and Joseph Tice, all 3 of those drivers pretty much drove away with this thing on that last green flag run. So now it's going to be interesting to see if anybody can keep pace with him. I want to take a second to say something about Stefan Marinak. He started back in the 19th position, and depending on where scoring has him, he'll be up inside the top 10. So he's slowly starting to march his way to the front, having a pretty solid night here. Looks like he's got a fast car too. Maybe he can get up there and challenge at some point.
And we saw one car pass through the pit lane. That car has since come back down pit road, and the only driver left out, it was the Toyota Camry, Matt McBride. So the only driver still out on the racetrack in front of your race leader, Anthony DeBarro, is Adam Blattle. He sits now 12 laps down. It's better than 13 laps down to where he was before. The Amsoil Ford looking to take the wave by. When lights go off on a pace car, you can see obviously heavily damaged machine after the first caution flag, after he found problems down basically in the same spot that you saw this most recent caution flag come from, getting loose in the center of 1 and 2. It's going to be a long night for his Ford, just trying to pick away at the pieces of that machine, get it fixed up as best they can, and try to salvage whatever points they are able to. So up in front of the field, the 9 going to bring us back to it. It didn't take long. It took all but 1 lap for the 9 of Anthony DeBarro to take over control of this race from Thomas J. George. The 24 hanging tight, and in fact, Justin, right as that caution flag came out, looked like we were about to see a battle for the race lead, because they were right on each other.
Yeah, they were, and really I was expecting some fireworks to fly between those two. Up at the front, the 9 Anthony DeBarro, the 24 Thomas George, and again, as we've documented through many, many races here on LS, for what they perceive is the way they race each other, and field getting doubled up. It looks like we're going to get the 1 to go this time. Going to give a quick shout to a couple of drivers who have made their way up through the field thus far. The 96 Mitch Rollo started 30th up to 9th, plus 21, and plus 19 on the racetrack. The driver from Elwell, Michigan, the 21 of Matt Lacrosse as well, doing very well in the Quick Car Racing Products Chevrolet as well. As the field is doubled up on the back straightaway, field going to be in the hands of Anthony DeBarro.
Lights off at a pace car, we double up with 34 of the 40 cars that started this race still on the lead lap. 2 drivers sit 1 lap down, 35th and 36th position, Daniel Eberhardt and Todd Witkowski. Shea Dewey is 2 laps down, and then Adam Blattle 12 laps down in 38th. 39th also 12 laps down is Jose Telez, and Mike Montesi back in 40th position. His night is done. He is already 20 laps behind your leaders after the opening race caution flag. Pace car going to duck down once again. We'll see if that 9 machine can get the jump at the inside of the front row. They head to the restart box. Green flag waves and back it away from Charlotte. And no surprise, DeBarro's got him by 4 car lengths as they get up through the gears.
Be all that and more. No low contendere is the verdict from the restart box there. Thomas George a little bit under assault from Joseph Tice, who he himself under assault from the 70 of Scott Eckrich. Eckrich going to look to the inside of the 25 of Joseph Tice. Down the back straightaways to make the run towards turn 3. The Eckrich machine going to dive it down to the bottom and clear the 25 of Joseph Tice. Eckrich now up to third. His sights set on Thomas George. And Thomas George right back in the tire tracks. Your leader, Anthony DeBarro.
Just as we saw when we went green now 26 laps ago. Battle for P1 and a battle for P3. The 24 was all over the back of the 9 Chevrolet. He drops off a couple of car lengths this time down the backstretch, and then Eckrich had the 25 of Tice all over the back end of him. It was reversed when they went down into turn number 3 on the opening lap. The 70 started 4th. He's up in 3rd, and that 3rd place starting position for Tice now has turned into a P4 running position. But once again, up front, they get single filed out behind them, and once again around P10, Brian, once again in a side less than teen on the outside of the racetrack this time. It's a fight with Mitch Rollo for 9th, and in front of them, how about the 13 of Dwayne Vincent? He digs to the inside of Greg Evans as caution behind them.
Yeah, once again, we're under caution. Douglas Wyatt and that number 28 machine is around off turn 2. Looks like there was just another situation like we saw the previous 2 cautions. He went off into turn 1. He got a little sideways. He drifted through the corner, and he wasn't able to hang on to it, and eventually just went hard into the outside wall, a little bit of an overcorrection. It looks like the 42 of Scott Stenzel was also collected in that, unfortunately. But this is kind of a calamity corner down here in turns 1 and 2. All 3 of our cautions have happened pretty much the exact same way. These drivers have got to be experiencing a pretty loose race car.
Yeah, remember how we were talking about how it's a night race and run of the lights and there's so much grip out there? Don't tell the guys that have been headed down to turns number 1 and 2 on the outside of the racetrack. The 28, he got sideways, and he had that wheel cocked all the way to the right for about 7 seconds before the car finally caught grip, and it snapped up the hill, and it was a hard hit into the outside wall, and as you mentioned, a tough break for the 42 of Scott Stenzel. He had absolutely nowhere to go in the U.S. Army Chevrolet, and he'll most likely be coming down trackside to be serviced. Your race leaders stay out for the most part. Scott Eckrich once again gonna pit, this time after just 2 laps on the tires. He gives up P3. Interesting call again.
Really no idea what the strategy call is other than to possibly set yourself up for 30 lap stints all the way to the finish, although the drivers can easily get 40 laps on a set of tires before they're really starting to scream on the racetrack. And down and away off of pit road, going to see who's going to win the battle, but very likely it's going to be the 21 of Matt LaCrosse going to get the go-ahead. Nope, wait, maybe. The 70 of Scott Eckrich cleared him just barely right at the line.
Just in front, and you got to think those end of the pit lane pit stalls give you an advantage. If they had to go all the way to that 70 get up to speed, he would not have been in front, but to get to the line, and he is scored as in front of the number 21 machine. So Scott Eckrich wins the battle out of pit road, but for the second time tonight, he pits in a very conservative move, if you will, to come down and get some fresh rubber. Going to give up a running position inside of the top 5 for the second time tonight. They're all chasing down Anthony DeBarro. Going to be 30 laps in the books here for the Charlotte Motor Speedway. The night is still young in the FTC. Charlotte 225 under the 3rd caution. We'll step away, take a quick one over home, step back for a commercial break, and we'll bring it back for the restart as the 9 and the 24 get set to line up side by side on the front row. You're watching the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series and LSRTV at iRacing Live. Back live at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. The lights are off on top of the American Childhood Cancer Ford Mustang GT pace car. And we get sent for the third time. We're going to go back into rain flag conditions off of a caution flag. The night's still young from Concord, North Carolina. Going to be 31 laps complete of the 150 on the board. And a restart with 119 laps to go. The pace car ducks down, and the number 9 going to be in control. He holds it back a little bit longer. 24 tried to guess it. Green flag back of the air, and it is once again a fairly large gap down to turn number 1 for Navarro. Battle may be on for a second. A little bit of a peek to the outside. Hurlo thought about going for P2, can't do it, and now he finds himself trying to hang on to P3 as Tice drives hard up the inside.
Tice going to drive down to the inside of the 87 machine of Christopher Hurlo, but he's got to clear the 96 of Mitch Rollo as well. Indeed, Tice going to clear the 96 of Rollo. Tice doing what he can right in the tire tracks of the 87 of Christopher Hurlo, but let's look a little bit further back. The 77 of Stephanie Lessentine looking to the inside and actually goes to the inside of the 26 of Jose Gonzalez for that 6th spot. Stephanie on the march here in the early going, and she's doing very well as she clears Jose Gonzalez now for that 6th spot. And she's got her sights set on the 2 that are battling side by side up front of them, the 96 of Mitch Rollo and the 25 of Joseph Tice.
I don't think she's lost a spot on track yet. We know she's up 7 from the start of the race, but I've always seen that Toyota on the move. If she wants to get to the battle in front of her, good news is they were fighting side by side, which would slow them down a little bit. Look at the 25 of Tice. Lost the battle on the outside, went in behind, went for the crossover, and a tough spot to build momentum on the bottom, Brian, out of the corner. And even with that, he's able to pull back up to the door. And then once again, they go nose to nose off of the final corner. Drag race for P4 outside, going to have the advantage at the stripe.
Yeah, this is a really incredible battle between these two drivers. I love that we can see these guys moving around and searching for different lines on the racetrack. You've got Mitch Rollo running that high line. You've got Joseph Tice running the bottom, and they can make either line work. This is really exciting for us to watch, and this is awesome to call. You got Joseph Tice down here on the bottom of the racetrack. Once again, he dives into the bottom in turns 3 and 4, almost slides up in the middle of the corner, almost makes contact with Mitch Rollo. He had to check up out of the gas. That's going to allow Mitch to clear him and take that position. And here comes Stephanie Lessentine as they work down into turn 1, and we have another caution right as she was about to make the move.
Caution going to fly once again, and headed down through the grass is Mike Kelly. So this one not going to be in turn number 2. Instead of problems coming off of the 4th turn. We take a look at the replay, and Kelly not the only car involved. Top side, the 65 of Josh Cheney. He got way sideways coming off of turn number 4. The handling problems continue on the evening. And 4th caution, now 35 laps into 65, gets sideways. He comes down over the nose of the 80. They get collected. The yellow flag flies. He did a good job of coming back up on a racetrack, but hanging on to it instead of coming straight across sideways in front of traffic. So best case scenario, the 2 cars that get into it are the only 2 cars that are affected by that one. But we are once again going to go to a slowed pace.
Slow pace for the front of the field. Going to see as the pit road going to open this time around. Where the leaders come down and take tires is they had roughly about 10 laps or so on those tires. And consensus would say yes, but that's not necessarily always the case, as some of these drivers here that are languishing around the 20th spot may want to stay out and kind of take track position and catch another yellow about 5 or 6, 7 laps in and be able to come down and get tires. But as I say that, most of your top 10, 12, 15, 20 cars, everybody coming down to pit road. First car to peel off will be the 21, Matt Lacrosse. He's going to be the first to hit his pit stall, but up front towards the front of the field, Hurlo first into his pit box.
Hurlo going to bring us all the way down. Again, he's got the number 12 pit stall, so he'll enter for service still as other cars continue to pile onto pit road, and he'll go with a 4-tire call up front with the drivers inside of the top 3 boxes. They as well are going to take 4 tires off of the pit lane. The 70 of Scott Eckridge looks like he'll take 2. So will Mitch Rollo. The 96 going to be the first one off. And Brian, I was just about the question that Scott Eckridge had came in again to now, I guess, just 1 caution flag go inside the top 5, pitted, took 4 tires when nobody else inside the top 5, even maybe the top 10 came down. It put him back in the pack. So I was looking for him to stay out, and he came down. And I was just about to ask you the question, maybe what the mindset is there, but he does go with the 2-tire call. Gets him some track position back, not all the way to the front though, because it looked like the 96 beat him to the punch.
Yeah, Mitch Rolo did win that race off pit road and should take over the race lead when they cycle around here. I like this call by both Mitch and for Scott Eckrich. It gives them an opportunity to see what their car is going to do on 2 tires, albeit they only have a handful of laps on the car. This is still an opportunity to get the clean air and see what happens. And they're going to make Anthony DeBarro and Thomas George work for it. Those two have been out front pretty much the entire race. And now they're going to be behind a couple of these guys, and they're going to have to work through some traffic to get back to the front. So now we're going to see just how good their cars are here tonight. Right now they're being shown in the 5th and 6th position. Daniel Eberhardt actually is being shown as the race leader. I'll have to look at it, but I believe he might have stayed out and elected not to come to pit road. I'm hearing indeed he did. He stayed out. So as of right now, he is your race leader. So we have a no-tire call, then we have a couple of 2-tire calls, and then we got the guys on for 4 fresh tires. This could be a very hectic restart when they get back rolling here.
And I'm not entirely convinced that the 90 is going to stay out, Justin. If he does, it will be interesting, not only because of the 2 tires and 4 tires going on behind him, but the number 90 machine, we knew he has a good car, 5th best in the practice, started back in the pack, though, and that's taken its toll on him because he's been around some of those accidents. It's pretty beat up, that car.
Yeah, he was involved in the first caution flag down there in turn 1. Clipped the front end of the car on the left front on the spinning vehicle that he was trying to avoid, and then clipped the outside retaining wall in turn 2 on the first caution flag. So he's going to stay out, and that's really going to be interesting here as the drivers on the inside line going to be at a definite disadvantage. And as it stands right now, it looks like Eberhardt, Eckrich, George, Hurlo, Matthews, in Washington, the first 5 or 6 drivers on the inside row that are going to be at a disadvantage and going to have to watch for tire spin. But as it stands, the iRacing rules, you cannot beat the leader to the finish line on the restart. So really going to have to see what happens. So if you're Eckrich, you really got to be looking for a hole to go, because as it stands, you're either going to get swallowed up or you're going to have to be the guy that makes the first move. And that's really going to be what we're going to have to look for on this restart.
The 21 of Matt Lacrosse also ends up in front of your at-time race leader with the 2-tire call. So staying out is Daniel Eberhardt, and then the 2 tires going to go to P2 through 4. Rolo to the outside of row 1, Eckrich inside row 2, and Lacrosse outside row 4. Not to get lost in all of this, but Thomas J. George with the number 1 pit stall did beat Anthony DeBarro at a pit road. So the 24 going to be to the inside of row 3, P5, and DeBarro now to the outside in P6, and 4 tires for the rest of the field from there on back. This one could be interesting. 40 laps into this race. Green flag back in the air. No tire spin that time. Eberhardt off and away.
Everybody's sleeping on the inside line for the most part on the restart, and that's going to allow the 96 of Mitch Rolo to kind of work to the outside of the 90 of Eberhardt. He's looking there, and he's on the throttle still flat out through the gearbox, and he is around, and Eberhardt just hitting the eject button down on the apron, allowing everybody to go by. DeBarro working to the inside of Lacrosse, and George trying to work to the inside of Joseph Tice.
So he gets down and out of the way, and problems behind them. A caution flag, lap number 41, and hearing issues with Retnick Broad. So Calamity Corner was turns 1 and 2, and now it's turn number 4. A side-by-side battle gone wrong. The Sim Vibe machine just broke loose out of nowhere, and not sure if on the inside of the racetrack the 26 took the air off of the left rear, or maybe that was a little bit of netcode contact, but that machine just snapped right around, coming off at turn 4. Good job by, I think, everybody to get by. Maybe a little bit of damage on the 88 of Kyle Taraska on the right rear. But other than that, everybody scattered high and low and avoided what could have been an even bigger accident than it was. But equally as frustrating for the drivers, we're back under caution again.
And back under caution here at the Charlotte Speedway. This has been an interesting race. I didn't expect to see this many cautions here tonight. I thought these guys would get spread out and have some long green flag runs. We still have plenty of time for that to happen. We have over 100 laps left in this event, so plenty of time for that to happen. But that wreck there, I don't think it had anything to do with an ill-handling race car. I do believe that was a little bit of a netcode issue there. There was a very big gap between those 2 cars, and unfortunately, I think there was a little bit of a connection issue that sent Wreck McBride around. So not a caution that was an error by any of the drivers, just one of those deals where we're racing on computers and it's not 100% perfect and that kind of stuff happens. But Mitch Rollo really made a power move to get around Daniel right before that caution came out, and Anthony DeBarro was hard charging as well. So I think that 4 fresh tire call for Anthony DeBarro and Thomas George was the right one, but this caution here might have just saved Mitch Rollo and Scott Eckridge.
So a big shuffle up at the front of the field under the most recent caution flag, and we slow him back down. Rollo, the 2-tire call, has him in front of the field at lap number 43. And as we pace behind the pace car once again, we'll take another opportunity to step away and take a word from our sponsors. You're watching the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series FTC Charlotte 225. Still over 100 laps of racing action still to come. You're watching LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks and terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
We're back live from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Tonight's presentation of the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series is presented by Gary Mercer Trucking. Established in 1982, Gary Mercer Trucking has the experience and expertise that your freight deserves. Our specialty is in over-the-road, less-than-road, and full truckload freight services between Ontario, Canada, and all points in the United States. Gary Mercer Trucking, proud title sponsor of the 2016 Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series. We hit the reset button once again. 105 laps still to go. Again, tonight's race at the Charlotte Motor Speedway marks the start of the second segment on the 2016 calendar, and with 225 miles on the board, a little bit longer than the average distance that we see at the intermediate racetracks, which normally comes in at about 125 laps. We got 150 on the evening, 45 of them going to be completed as the base car goes down. Eckridge ready to rock and roll top side, and they're going to get real tight. Green flag back in the air. He tried everything he could to battle Rollo down to turn number 1. Not going to be able to do it. P2 slides in on the inside for DeBarro.
DeBarro slips through. He's the first guy on 4 his teammate Mitch Rollo, and I have to say really that it's kind of interesting a little bit further back though, wow, Eckridge just kind of tried to roll the inside on DeBarro. DeBarro's going to try to take the long way around Rollo for the race lead, not going to get it done. He's going to lose about 3-4 car lengths, and here comes Thomas George. He's working to the inside of the 70 of Scott Eckridge. Those two go wheel to wheel down in turn number 1. Eckridge going to yield the spot to Thomas George, and we're going to have to see can George clear Eckridge off of turn number 2, and does. George up to the 3rd spot.
And he looks to the inside on the 24. You look off the back of the Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet, and you can see just how close that gap is going to be off of turn 4. That's been a loose part on the racetrack, so is turn number 1. So you got to watch when you're digging. Problems behind the drivers up at the front of the field. Caution flag is out. In the instance of equality, if we will, 3 cautions in 1 and 2 to start the race, and now 3 cautions in 3 and 4.
Yeah, that started with the number 80 machine on Mike Kelly. He got a little off the pace in the middle of the corner and then ended up down on the apron. And I guess the transition from the racing surface to the banking got him very upset and sent him up into the wall. You see the replay on your screen now, and just several cars collected, and an unfortunate set of circumstances for a lot of these guys in the back. Yet another caution here under the lights at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. There's a little bit of frustration going on with some of the drivers in the field here tonight, and it's understandably so. These guys came here to race, and it's been pretty bad so far. A lot of cautions, and just hasn't been the night anybody was looking for.
So we're back under the caution flag condition. You could stem back to the 80, losing a lot of speed down in 1 and 2. But again, just a little bit of air coming off of the top car on the outside lane, a little bit of net code into the mix as well. And there's nothing, I think, in that scenario, Justin. You could argue that, you don't need to be 3 wide at that point. I think Kyle Taraska expecting that to be a 2 wide battle as he went up the inside of the 80, and then they both ended up squeezing up the inside of the 43. You could argue to not put yourself in that position. You could say give each other much more space, especially at the start or after the start that this race has seen. But at the same time, the 80, the 43 didn't touch. It's just one of those things that happens.
Yeah, and that's the quandary that we live in, and that is the A car here on iRacing. Your best chance to get your positions on the racetrack is on these restarts, but at the same time, like you said, Evan, you really have to question the thought process of these guys to really push themselves in order to get every single spot on the racetrack. You know, the old adage goes, to finish first, you must first finish, and a lot of these guys taking themselves out of contention already, probably somewhere close to around half the field involved in early accidents thus far, and we're yet to complete lap number 50.
Yeah, we're going to cross over to that point under the caution flag here, and it'll put us at 1/3 distance in this contest. Again, talking about how the average length of these races at the intermediate racetracks, 125 laps. Charlotte, the longest one on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series calendar, so we added in another 25 laps for this one to get us to that 150 number and 225 miles on the night. Now we do have 50 laps in the books, 100 laps to go. That time as we come across the line with the stationary yellow flag still atop the flag stand. A couple of guys at the back of the pack coming down. Action for your race leaders under this caution flag non-existent. So it's going to be the 24, the 2, the 9, the 26, and the 96 running inside of the top 5. I was taking a look at the schedule for the next couple of races because we tracks, and we always talk about how well they are identical, and if you're good at a 1.5 miler here, you might be good there, but they do have very different layouts amongst them. We really don't have a lot of them coming up. We take a look at the upcoming schedule. Michigan in 1 week's time, followed by Daytona, followed by Sonoma, then you have Kentucky, and then that's it on the intermediate side, because we'll go to Pocono, we'll go to Indianapolis, we'll go to Watkins Glen, Bristol, and Michigan. So I love these next couple of weeks of racing.
Oh, I absolutely love the summer stretch that NASCAR does and that we get to see here in RSR. It's such a unique set of tracks. Like you said, it's not your typical cookie-cutter tracks. Each track has its own characteristics, and each track presents its own challenges, and these drivers are really going to have to be able to adjust their driving style from week to week in order to be competitive week in and week out. If they want to get up there and battle for the wins and try to lock themselves into the chase, they're really going to have to battle hard. I really love this summer stretch. It's going to be a lot of fun. You might see a lot of different faces coming to the front. Some guys that will excel at a track like Pocono that may not do as well here, or vice versa, somebody that's going to do really well on the road courses that doesn't typically do good on the 1.5 miles. We could see a lot of different faces at the front over the next 8 or 9 weeks. Could be a very exciting summer stretch. We might see a lot of different winners.
Speaking of winners, you want to win to get in and fight for the championship. And the drivers that have done that so far, Anthony DeBarro, Scott Eckrich, Mitch Rollo, and as well Corbin Hemstreet. 4 drivers with 2 wins on the season have secured their place in the championship grid. And then a handful of drivers with 1 trip to victory lane include Daniel Eberhardt, Dwayne Vincent, David Washington, Doug Roth, and Jose Gonzalez. Those back to 24th and 29th have to be careful because you have to maintain a top 30 running position in the championship standings for that win to count you eligible for the chase grid. That's still a long way from now. We got a win up for grabs. Inside of 100 laps to go for the first time tonight at Charlotte. Green flag back in the air. Your pole sitter back out in clean air. Thomas George brings us through.
George coming up to the gearbox, going to clear the two of Rhett McBride going down into turn number 1. McBride going to try to slide down to the bottom, but not quite going to get there in time. The 9, Anthony DeBarro, the first car on 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. He's running down to the inside as well. Also trying to bring along the 96 of Mitch Rollo. He's working to the inside of the 26 of Jose Gonzalez. The 70 of Scott Eckrich right there as well. A good 5-way battle for second already as we're 1 lap back underneath the green flag. Everybody's still kind of side by side from the leader on back, just trying to sort themselves out, and it's really interesting to see because Gonzalez not quite giving up on that 4 spot. He's battled back to the outside of the 96 of Mitch Roll. Those two drag racing down the back straightaway.
And in front of them, how about the 9 of Anthony DeBarro? He's all kinds of loose because I think he got a shot from McBride into turn 3. Looked like the 2 looked to the bottom of the 9, trying to take away that line. And McBride took exception to that. So a little bit of contact, 2 wide, 2 rows deep, packing him in problems. Gonzalez going to lose the handle. He'll slot up and he takes out Eckrich.
Big breakdown in turns 1 and 2. Jose Gonzalez just lost it once again down in turns 1 and 2. Scott Eckrich got caught up in it. Gottschalk got caught up in it. A handful of other drivers got caught up in it. Just one of those deals where it happens so close to the front, it's hard to avoid it when you have cars wrecking that close to the lead, and you have everybody else that has to come battling through. But how about Scott Eckrich, man? He has been battling from the back all night long, and now, unfortunately, his night looks like it's going to be pretty much over. His car is smoking heavily, more than likely going to be terminal damage on the number 70 machine. I don't think you'll see him get back out there. He's also crabbing pretty badly right now, so really unfortunate for him. He had such a strong run and a very fast race car, and not going to get to show it as the race continues on. But that's how it goes here, and this has been a wacky night. Is it a full moon out tonight, Evan?
It could very well be. That one, it was good racing. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they were going at each other, but I think at this point, the guys have to figure out, you go down to turn 1 on the outside of the racetrack, you keep your foot in the gas. It's not going to work. It's not like they're throwing it in there and it's getting into the fence. The car it's not staying underneath him. And Jose Gonzalez was trying to line himself up for a whale of a save. And you're going to be hard to convince me that he was not going to be able to get the handle back on it. They might have wrecked trying to get around him, but he was wheeling that thing. Unfortunately, Eckrich was right there. There was absolutely nowhere for him to go, and they get into each other. But again, same old song and dance. Car on the outside, brakes sideways, too much traffic behind to get around, and back under the caution flag now the 7th time tonight in just the opening 55 laps of competition. So the woes for everybody in the pack, not just some of the back markers, which we saw the first company caution flag send from the loose handling conditions, are striking everybody top to bottom. So we pace once again. We will once again step aside and get a word from our sponsors, come back to the Charlotte Motor Speedway as we look to break out in the green flag stretch. You know that's what Thomas J. George wants up front. The 24 Chevrolet loves to clean air, and he continues to lead at lap number 57. We'll be back with more coverage of the FTC Charlotte 225 in a moment. You're watching the 2016 RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Gary Mercer Trucking and SimVibe by Sim Experience.
For iRacing to get Le Mans is huge. I mean, this is a unique event, a unique track where, you know, half of the track is public road, so you can never test on it, you never get experience on it, and it's 8 miles in length, 4-minute lap time in a GT car. So, you know, even if you're here for an hour of testing, that's only 15 laps, and you're only going to see the corner 15 times that day. The first section going through the Dunlop area is pretty unique. You know, it's got elevation change and off camber. Then you go down Mulsanne into the chicanes, and you know, the straights are unbelievably long. It's a tricky track, and you know, every year I've come here, this being my 4th year, you learn something new every time.
We've wanted to add Le Mans to iRacing for a long time, and we've really been working hard towards it for the last 5 years. But really, things only came together in the last week leading up to this race. So it was a real scramble to put everything together. The majority of Le Mans is public roads. So when they're preparing for the 24-hour race, it's really the only time that we can visit to laser scan and photograph the track so that we can recreate it in iRacing. We work closely with the ACO to get essentially exclusive access to the facility and everything that we needed to get the laser scanning and photographic reference that we need to create the track. We were very fortunate to be at Le Mans at the most important time of the year and gain that experience of being there. And we're going to really do the best we can to put that into our work and making sure that the Le Mans in iRacing is the best Le Mans, the most exciting and accurate recreation of the track possible.
Happy to be with you back live at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. LSRTV's coverage of the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series Charlotte 225 continues. Happy to be with you topside of myself, Evan Pasoko, joined by Justin Rosedale and Brian Macklin in the LSRTV booth, and LSRTV's producer Cisco Scaramuza downstairs into pushing the buttons. It's been a rough 59 laps trying to get the course back on their way, and Thomas J. George going to be in control of the inside. Green flag once again. Regreen from Charlotte, top two, single file to one.
Not going to stay single file for very long. Got a battle for third heating up, and Rhett McBride in the tube working to the inside of the 96 and Mitch Rollo a little bit further up. For the race lead, DeBarro has a head of steam down the back straightaway. Speaks to the inside, not going to get there. George going to shut the door on DeBarro, and McBride going to try to roll the center around Mitch Rollo, but Rollo going to battle back around the outside. Very good battle for the top four positions on the racetrack. DeBarro and the tire tracks, your leader Thomas George, they head off into turn number one.
And what a drive to the inside. He was marking up that left rear quarter panel, trying to take some air off and trying to get some side draft, and he just drove it in to turn number one. They got door-to-door, 24 with the advantage down the back, and now once again in 3 and 4, left side tires to the apron for the Don. What a drive. Anthony DeBarro, he'll lead lap number 61. The fight's still far from over with, though, as George battles back topside and then drops in line behind at a turn number 2. For the moment, the 9 car clear in front.
Slight tire advantage on the 9 of Anthony DeBarro, powers him back to the lead. Here comes Thomas George to the bottom of the racetrack. The crossover move as they go to turns 3 and 4. Not going to be able to make the car stick down there. He's not going to get the run he needs. He's going to fall back in line in second. He's now going to have to go on defense as here comes the number 96 machine of Mitch Rollo up into the third position. He is now trying to run these two leaders down. Got a really big head of steam as they get through turns 1 and 2, trying to close in on Thomas George. Thomas got a good run off turn 2. He starts closing back in on the rear decklet of Anthony DeBarro, trying to see if he can get back up there and challenge him for that race lead before Mitch Rollo gets up there, but not going to have the speed he needs at this point. I think that little bit of a tire advantage that these guys have is playing into it, as here comes Mitch Rollo as they go down the front straightaway. He peeks to the inside, but not close enough to make a move. He's going to have to stay in third for now. Here comes Stephanie Lessentine back there in the number 77 machine. She's battling hard as they come off turn 2 with Christopher Hurlow.
He's been topside for a lot of the night, but this time at the bottom, not going to work out. Hurlow gets clear. He'll swing to the inside and tries to cross over the 2 at McBride. Gets the positioning, but I think the outside, the better lane to be in at this point in the race, and the 2 going to win the battle back off at turn number 4 to hang on to 5th. So with all of that, Hurlow ends up P6. It's a 7th for Stephanie Lessentine. Look at the inside. Matt Lacrosse from 32nd on the grid. He wants the top 7 spot, and give it to him.
Battle for second shaping up, and the 96 of Mitch Rollo looking to the inside of the Napa Chevrolet of Thomas George. Rollo's there digging hard, and he will almost clear him off the corner. Did not get a good run off to the center of turn 3 and 4. That's going to allow George to go side by side with him, and George back on the offensive going down into turn number 1.
Tried to cross over the 9 when he lost that spot. He'll try to do the same with Rollo. Got a good run off for the corner. Not enough to force an issue down inside in turn number 3. So he just gives him a little bit of a shot to the back bumper, says hello, and follows him in line down through turns 3 and 4. They are single file inside of the top 5, but a good three-way fight between the 96 to 24, the 99 for 2, 3, and 4. Those three cars within just 0.2 of a second of each other. The common denominator amongst them, besides that, is they're both, or rather all of them, are losing time to Anthony DeBarro and Ein Chevrolet out in clean air, trying to get away as we work towards a green flag run.
Yeah, finally starting to get a few green flag laps in here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Nice little battle going on back here between Rhett McBride and Christopher Hurlow, battling hard to decide who's going to take that last spot inside the top 5. Right now, Rhett McBride has it. Christopher Hurlow wants it, as does Matt LaCrosse. He's creeping up into the picture now. Christopher Hurlow has been trying to make the bottom of the racetrack work for about the last 2 laps now. He just has not been able to get the run he needs up off the corner to make that move and clear Rhett McBride for the position. You see, he dives it down to the bottom of the racetrack, almost slides up and makes contact with Rhett McBride as they work through 3 and 4, still trying to make that inside line work, but just not able to get the momentum he needs. Rhett is able to carry that speed down the straightaways, which is able to hold him off, but it looks like Christopher Hurlow's got the advantage right now. He's going to try to slide up in front of Rhett McBride as they come off turn 2. He does, just barely. Just barely. You couldn't fit a piece of paper between those two cars right there. That was so close between them.
And we're not even at halfway, and these guys are going at it. He came right up across the nose of the 2, and now the 21 going to follow suit. Matt LaCrosse to the inside, just after we saw multiple battles won by the car who had the run off the top side on the outside lane. The inside takes 2 back, and now we'll see what Stephanie Lessentine can do as she tries to get back to P7 where she's been for the better part of the evening, and again, no problem. So she'll take that spot away from the 2. Problems behind her. Coming up with David Washington. He wants not only McBride's spot, but he wants her spot as well. Driving up hard on the left rear quarter panel, not enough to get the inside positioning. He'll keep a nose there and keep an eye open down to turn number 1 and charging up equally as hard behind a Havoline Ford Fusion, a Dwayne Vincent inside the top 10.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing about the defending Full Throttle Cup Series champion, Dwayne Vincent. As Vincent going to dive to the inside of David Washington, who got loose up off the corner. It's going to go side by side down into turn number 3. The Havoline Ford of Dwayne Vincent going to work to the inside and get arrow loose off of turn number 4. Washington with the advantage. He's starting to pull Vincent down the front straightaway. A great battle from about 6th on back as the guys mixing it up side by side. It's almost like they're running sprint cars on the dirt track as guys we see go all the way up to the outside retaining wall. Guys down right on that white line. It's pretty much pick a groove and trying to make it work as everybody just trying to swap positions on the racetrack. And it's all happening right behind the 87 of Christopher Hurlow. He's got his hands full from the 21 of Matt LaCrosse. Stephanie Lessentine digging up into that battle. And a little bit further back, you've got the 45 of Carl Shedd and the 23 of Greg Evans swapping spots on the racetrack.
And these guys have been stop and start, 2 tires versus 4 tires all night long. Nobody really knows what their car has on a long run. Nobody has really been able to rubber in maybe an outside line, try to move around and find where their car is going to handle the best on a long stretch. And as we close in on the halfway point, if they can remain under these green flag conditions for some lengthy amount of times through the end of this race, it's going to completely change the complexion in comparison to what we saw in the opening about 40% of this contest. DeBarro no longer running away, though. In fact, here comes Mitch Rollo, the 96, hot on his heels at a battle for the race lead that sits 1/10 apart.
And Mitch Rollo has been inching his way up to the last several laps, getting closer and closer to the rear bumper of Anthony DeBarro, trying to see if he can't get up there and take that race lead away from him. Thomas George has been holding off Stefan Marinak for the 3rd position here. They're about a second behind these guys, trying to see if they can't reel them back in. Not really losing any time, but not gaining any time either for Thomas George and Stefan Marinak. They're going to have to see these guys racing up front if they're going to get up there. Mitch Rollo has been trying to get up there and battle for the race lead pretty much all night long. He started all the way back in the 30th position and now sits in 2nd. He is just 1 position away from climbing to the top of the mountain, and that's exactly what he's trying to do. Big run down the front straightaway. Looks like he got a really good run off turn 4. He gains about 1/10 of a second that lap right there. He moves to the high side as they work down through turns 1 and 2, trying to get the run off the corner once again to try to close up on that rear bumper of the number 9 machine, doing everything he can to try to put as much pressure on Anthony as he can to try to take this lead away from him, but just not able to get the run he needs just yet to take that lead away. He keeps getting closer and closer, though, the more laps that they run. I definitely think while Anthony's got a run car. We haven't really seen a lot of speed on the long run. The couple of longer runs that we did get, and we're seeing it here again as he moves to the high line to try to block Mitch Rollo down in 1 and 2.
Not going to work, though. Inside is wide open, and here comes Rollo, who's driving with a chip on his shoulder. He didn't start 30th from a provisional. He just blew it in qualifying after being the second fastest in practice, and he is back where he feels he belongs. The Boomtown Sim Chevrolet up in front of the field. Now 77 laps into this one. We crossed the halfway point in this one just 2 laps ago. Let's take a look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, the IMSA, and more. New race leader Mitch Rollo started 30th. He's gone to P1. Your second place starter sits exactly there to borrow in P2, and your pole sitter Thomas J. George in front of a gaggle of cars for the time being in third. We'll watch this battle as we continue through the running order. Fourth is the 87 of Stafford Marinac. Behind them, Hurlo now P4. Lesson teed up to the number 5 spot. Matt Lacrosse is 6th. Stefan Marinac in 7th. Carl Shed at 8th. 9th is David Washington. Kyle Taraska inside the top 10.
11 to the 54, Tim Matthews. The 13 of Dwayne Vincent rides 12. 13 to the 25 of Joseph Tice. 23 of Greg Evans rides. McBride rides 16th, 17 to the 12 of Ross Cato, the 20 of A.J. Browning rides 18th, 19th to the 1 of Sean Castle, the 5 of Dan Murray rounds out your top 20.
Sean Boundy currently sits in the 21st position. 22nd goes to Kevin Linden. Nelson Rivera is 23rd. Corbin Hemstreet is not having the night he wanted. He started 8th. He's back to 24th. Scott Stenzel is 25th, and he is the last driver on the lead lap right now. The rest of these drivers are at least 6 laps down. I believe he might be the last driver on the track. Actually, Steve Gottschalk is still on the track. He's 6 laps down. The rest of these guys are behind the wall at the moment. Doug Roth, 27th. Adam Blattel is 28th. 29th goes to Todd Rukowski, and Scott Simley is 30th.
Also behind the fence, 31st through 40th. Around your running order, you got Scott Eckridge, Jose Gonzalez, Michael Priester, Josh Cheney, Daniel E. Eberhardt, Mike Kelly, Shane Ewing, Joshua Telias. You got Douglas White and Mike Montesi. That is 31st through 40th, and that rounds out your full field running order. This has been your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com. To sign up today, you could use the new LSRTV promo code by entering PR-2016 LSRTV when you register for a new iRacing membership, and you get the late model free of charge, along with the 13 cars and 14 tracks that are included with the first time iRacing subscription. Again, that is PR-LSR 2016 LSRTV. You can get the late model free of charge. We went through that running order, guys, and the battle inside of the top 10 is probably shuffled up a little bit since 2 minutes ago. We walked you through it. There is plenty of action going on here, and that 24 of Thomas J. George, he was in front of the field not all that long ago, is getting run over by most of them.
Yeah, most definitely. Got the 45 of Carl Shed clawing back from early damage on his race vehicle. The 88 of Kyle Taraska, the 21 of Matt Lacrosse, the 77 of Stephanie Lessentine. These guys are all swapping positions. 3rd through 10th, inside of 6/10 of a second. And if you want to go back a few more cars, really about 10 cars, all within about 1 second of a gap on the racetrack at the moment. George's car is starting to fade, that Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet with Napa know-how on board that machine. Really struggling here in the later stages with this green flag run. Carl Shed working to the inside. Lessentine had to go all the way up to the wall right behind them. Lacrosse just nowhere to go for himself as George finding himself the odd man out as Mitch Rollo, Anthony DeBarro have broken away by 1.1 seconds, but Hurlo with a faster car in 3rd, and now Shed finally clears the 24 of Thomas George.
So he gets out in front of the 24, going to cross him right back over, though, side by side. Down to turn number 3 they go, and no challenge on the outside for the 45. Carl Shed going to get back to the gas. The Aegis machine is gone. Look at the idiot Taraska, too. He's digging hard coming out of the corner, has given up the race lead. Mitch Rollo, the 96, he'll come down pit road, and he's accompanied hot on his heels also for service. So everybody ducking down. Lap number 86, first time tonight we've seen green flag service, and now Hurlo in front to Shed P2.
Anthony DeBarro and Mitch Roller, your two race leaders. They're on pit road right now getting 4 fresh tires and fuel. Mitch Roller's already down and away. Anthony DeBarro is in his box now getting service. We've got more drivers coming to pit road. Thomas George comes to pit road. Carl Shedd comes to pit road. A host of other drivers joining them. Right behind them, looks like 5 more cars right behind those guys coming in. Matt Lacrosse is involved in that. Joseph Tice, Greg Evans, a handful of other drivers. Green flag pit stops well underway here. We have Rhett McBride calling. He's coming to pit road next time by. All these drivers coming in to get 4 fresh tires and fuel. This is how important fresh tires are, Evan. When one guy comes to pit road, you have to come in immediately after, or you will give up a ton of time on track.
Yeah, and you saw the immediate reaction from guys inside of the top 3. Pit road cycle was quote-unquote opened by the first car that came down, and you got to get onto the pit lane because the second they get back out there on the fresh tires, they're going to run their best lap of the race. Take your current race leader, for example, Christopher Hurlow. His best lap on the night is a 27.9. Those are fresh tires. He ran a 29.9 the last time by. So you're looking at a 2-second fall off every single lap. The guys that have already come down pit road on this cycle, they're going to end up 4, then 6, then 8 seconds in front of these guys. And sure, the tires are going to flip in the reverse, the benefit once these guys do come down pit road, but they're going to have to chase. And I'm always been a fan of the short pit strategy call. We're only down to 15 cars left on the lead lap because everybody is kind of torn on when they want to come down. I'd say almost at a 50-50 point right now with who's completed service and who hasn't. Nonetheless, the battle for the race lead still rages on. Tarasca on rails since the restart. He's got a great long run 88 Chevrolet to the inside of Hurlow. He wants a crack in the race lead, and he'll get it in turn 1.
It's more than a crack. He's just going to take it and try to run with it. Tarasca in the Chick-fil-A Chevrolet gets around this Simolution Toyota manufacturer change for the driver of the 87. I'm used to seeing him in a Chevrolet. The 54, Tim Matthews, Stephanie Lessington in the top 4, all within a half a second of each other, all still staying out on the racetrack at this time. You kind of have to start to question, okay, how long are you willing to stay out before you give up your position on the racetrack? Because, as Evan, you said, it's going to be somewhere around 2 seconds, 1.6, 1.7. About this far into the run for Anthony DeBarro that you'd be faster than the leaders on the racetrack at the current moment. So really, you're going to get run over in about 15, 20 laps, and you kind of have to wonder, is it really all that worth it? Because these guys may try to make it on just one more stop, but then you also have to think about it. If you're DeBarro, you really have to go max speed if these guys are really going to push the fuel window.
And there is such a difference now. We saw the first guys come down to pit road, Brian. We saw those that, we can tell that those were the guys that did not want to get off strategy. Whoever pitted, they felt like if they raced it out to the end, that they want to stick with them because either A, that's the strategy call they want to be on, or B, they feel like if they stick with them, they can beat them. Now you're looking at guys that have stayed out for what's approaching to be almost 10 laps after those people had completed service. This is now a completely different strategy call for those that are still out with 12 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, it's a very interesting call, and it could work in their favor for a couple of different reasons, because for one, they're only got to make one more trip to pit road, and by my calculations, by the time they have to do that, it's going to be around the same time we would see the rest of these drivers come back to pit road to get tires once again. So if they stretch it that far, this could work out in their favor. They'll be pretty much on the same sequence. Where this also works out for these drivers is if a caution comes out, a handful of these guys are still trapped a lap down. We did see Anthony DeBarro and Mitch Rollo just get their laps back the hard way, but they're going to be behind all these guys, and if a caution comes out, they're going to have to come to pit road once again, which means they're going to stay back there around that 11th or 12th position. They're not going to get back to the front very easily, which means these guys will have the track position they need to maybe fend them off if a caution were to come out. And with all the different strategies going on, all the different speed we see between these guys on fresh tires and the guys on old tires, it's highly likely we could see a caution. The closing rate for these guys on fresh tires versus these guys on old tires is incredible. They're closing in on them over a second in one corner at times. It can get very hairy, and it could cause chaos if they catch them at the wrong time.
And you can see the difference in tires because look at your race leader. He looks like a lap car up there on the outside of the racetrack. Everybody blowing by, and as they continue to do that, you start to add more cars to the lead lap. DeBarro back on the lead lap. Rollo back on the lead lap. Lacrosse, Tice, George, Shed, Marinak, Evans, and company. They're all getting around the 88 of Kyle Tarasca. So the Chick-fil-A Chevy probably should be coming in fairly soon. He's got plenty of company that have been out there with him inside the top 5 that have just jumped down themselves.
Yeah, indeed, Hurlo, the rest of the gang, we were just talking about it there on the private channel, Evan. Caution flag on the speedway. This will change everything.
And right in the cycle of green flag pit stops, and it's going to be interesting to see who ends up where after this, but we talk about the possibility of a caution flag coming during a cycle of pit stops, and in fact it might be one of the more likely times to see a caution flag come out on the racetrack because you got so many different cars, so many different strategies, and we saw the closing rate between your leader and the guys that were getting back to the lead lap. That's a lot of speed differential, and it's not that difficult to find yourself in problems, and it looks like it's issues for Mitch Rollo. We're hearing that a Renandi 6 machine with some sort of a connection issue, some sort of an electrical problem inside of the sim itself. But I think even before that happened, he just went to turn number 3, and the car got a little bit loose. It drifted those left side tires to the apron. He spun it out hard into the outside wall, and that was that.
Yeah, just one of those deals where I think he was just digging really hard to try to catch back up to Anthony DeBarro, and he just got a little too low, got a hold of the apron, got it sideways, and then overcorrected into the outside wall like we saw a couple of guys do earlier on. Just a really tough break, but this goes back to what we were talking about with these guys that chose to stay out. Dwayne Vincent and Kyle Tarasca and the handful of other drivers that got to stay out. Now they have track position as they're on pit road right now, and much like I said, all that had already come to pit road, they had to come down too. Anthony DeBarro had to come. Thomas George had to make his way back to pit road. And easily winning the battle off pit road is going to be Kyle Tarasca, followed by Dwayne Vincent, AJ Browning, Nick Silver, Kevin Linden. Then you have Nelson Rivera. Nowhere do you see Anthony DeBarro in this mix. He's going to be around the 8th or 9th position, maybe a little bit further back before he finally gets off pit road. So he's going to have his work cut out for him in these last 50 laps or so if he's going to get back to the front and challenge for the win.
And it is all just, to some extent, you can say strategy played into that because, a lot of guys don't like to pit early with that short pit strategy because, we did see most of the guys who were inside the top 5 before we started the pit stops be on the lead lap, so it's not as bad as it could have been for them, and they're just going to end up in a P9 or P8 or so. A lot of the time, if it happens right away, they're stuck a lap down. They have to stay out to get their lap back. Everybody else pits, they're at a tire disadvantage, and they lose track position. So a lot of guys don't like pitting at the start of a green flag pit cycle. They like to stay out, and we questioned how long those people would stay out and to what benefit. Well, the caution flag tonight will drop in their favor, and the running order going to continue to shuffle through an update. But right now, Sean Boundy scored the race lead. He's got a heavily damaged machine, so you're going to be looking back for that 88 of Kyle Tarasca to maintain.
Really going to be the interesting thought here on the evening is, we were just talking about it as we were getting the order of things wrapped up here. Fuel may be an issue, but Brian, you were saying that fuel may not be an issue because you will pit for tires. But Kyle Tarasca looked like he was trying to make it an even 50. And but before that caution flag flew, I had really thought that Hurlo, Wessentine, and the rest of the folks actually came to pit road. I want to say about 5 laps too soon.
It would have been very close. I'm pretty sure the window here is 55 to 58, maybe 59 laps, depending on how well you are able to conserve it. So I think coming around that lap 95 mark was pretty much right on the money, and any point from that point forward, they should be able to make it to the end on fuel. I don't think you'll see any issues here. I could be wrong. I don't have the best math in the world. It's about right on par with Jacob Seelman, but I think they're going to be okay here. But I also don't think we've seen our last caution. We had a nice long green flag run right there, but now we're getting into the crunch time part of this race. We're getting ready to hit 50 laps to go, and business is really about to pick up. You got Anthony DeBarro and Thomas George that are going to be coming from the 8th and 10th position, and they're going to have their work cut out for them if they're going to get back up there. So the aggression level is definitely about to rise.
Lights off on top of the pace car. And Brian, to make the math easy on me, this is lap 100, so 100 laps down, going to be 50 laps to go at Charlotte. We cross the 2/3 distance marker and the FTC Charlotte 225, and it is going to be Kyle Taraska electing the outside lane for the restart. Vincent to the bottom, AJ Browning, Nick Silver, Kevin Linden inside of the top 5, and Nelson Rivera 6th, Scott Stenzel in 7th, before you'll find Anthony DeBarro, who's going to have to fight up from P8. The pace car down and away, Taraska's on the loud pedal, green flag back in the air, 50 laps remain.
50 laps to go here in the 150 lap affair here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Taraska gets the jump over the 13 of Dwayne Vincent, the 51 of Nick Silver. Going to go around the Dollar General Toyota of AJ Browning. Browning, unfamiliar face here for a lot of us here, new here in segment number 2. Vincent doing very well in the second spot. He's closed the gap somewhat on Taraska here in the early going. But if you're Nick Silver, you're somebody who's been trying for years to do to get your first win on an intermediate track. Last year, he almost got one away from the hands of Jeff Ward, and he's been close a couple other times in the year plus since that time. And Nick Silver in that gain forward, he's doing the best he can. He rides third, and he's got a host of drivers to hold off. You have to wonder, can he find the speed to get it done?
He's got a front row seat to the party right now. Here comes Dwayne Vincent. Closed it in on the back bumper at Taraska, the Haviland Ford again. Started in 13th, coincidentally enough. Trying to get up, though, that 12th position. He's passed 11 cars so far tonight to get to where he is now. But the 88 not giving up, and behind them, Silver. 9 car up and over. Caution is out.
Anthony DeBarro was trying to make the move on Nick Silver in the 51 machine. He got into the left rear quarter panel and then got sent hard into the inside wall. Did a couple of flips on the back straightaway, then got hit by several other vehicles. And Anthony DeBarro, who had arguably the best car of the night, is not going to go to victory lane here tonight at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. To quote Justin Rosenau on the Whisper Chat, he is dead.
Yeah, he had some help, too. You take a look at the onboard, up and over for the number 9 machine, and, you have to be aggressive. We know that, and the 9 put in this position because of the caution flag, which he didn't have much control over. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure what else you can say because he drove into him. He was aggressive, and he tried to get that car to rotate. But he hit him, and he turned him coming off of the turn, and not only is his own night ruined, but I think Nick Silver's night is ruined also, and the 9 car, a victim of circumstances, placed Justin into a bad position where he had to drive like that, and it cost him this race, which, for the better part of it, you look back 25 laps ago, it looked like it was all his.
Yeah, you really have to kind of think about it from the point of view that, like some of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series drivers that really say that, well, I got a win or two, I'm locked into the chase. Well, that's what happened with the 9 of Anthony DeBarro. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but he was afforded the opportunity of charging that hard to get up to the front of the pack because he wants to contend for race wins. I mean, let's face it. If you put 2 drivers on a track, you want to be the guy that finishes first no matter what, instead of worrying about your points day as well. But this really going to play into the hands, though, of Kyle Taraska. But let's not count out the 24 Thomas George. He's mired back just outside the top 10, but he's still got plenty of time. He can come down and get 4 fresh tires. He can get service on his vehicle, and really, the 22. Or the 24 of Thomas George, excuse me, I really think he's in the catbird seat, really, over the guys here at the front of the field, like Taraska, Vincent, Rivera, and the rest of the gang.
And he's going to have to hope, though, that for the next 45 laps, and as the most recent caution flag just showed us, case in point, a fast race car don't mean nothing if the cards did not fall in your favor, because Kyle Taraska is taking over the race lead up at the front of the field. And again, he's somebody who's had a good car, but was mid-pack. Caution comes out when he's in front, just like that. you have him leading this race with Dwayne Vincent P2. So if you're looking for one of those guys who, for the most part, again, have dictated this entire race, they're going to have to not only race around these guys. There's only 44 laps to go in this race. That's plenty of time to have some more yellows, plenty of time for a little bit of pit strategy to still play into effect. But you never want to be coming from behind late in these races, especially when you know that you have a good car when you're out in front of the field and in clean air. You find yourself in a completely different scenario than you've been for the most of the night.
Yeah, this is completely changing the complexion of this race. 20 laps ago, we had we had Anthony DeBarro and Mitch Rollo out front trying to run away with this thing, and now neither of those drivers are in this race anymore. And we now have a completely different look to the front of this field. Kyle Tarasco, Dwayne Vincent out front. This is going to be wild seeing Thomas George try to come back up through the field, but for the first time tonight, we don't know who's got the best car anymore because the two fastest cars are gone. This is going to be really exciting. I'm looking forward to the end of this race.
Lights off for the pace car. We'll do the dance again. Going to be 43 laps to go, I believe, when we come back around. We're going to have 107 laps completed in the FTC Charlotte 225. Tonight's coverage of the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented in part by SimVibe by Sim Experience. Sim Experience is a premier motion simulator manufacturer with expertise in electronics, engineering, manufacturing, and software development. Their products are utilized worldwide in driver training facilities, homes, simulation centers, and race driver development programs. SimVibe by Sim Experience, a proud title sponsor of the 2016 RSR Full Throttle Cup Series. Heading off to turn number 3, 22 cars mathematically still going to have a shot at this one. Curious to see, Brian, what that 88 is going to do with this clean air.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see Kyle Tarasca out front due in part to a strategy call to stay out when everybody else came to pit road under green. Now he's going to lead the field down to the next green flag as the pace car ducks to the safety of pit road. He's going to wait on it. He's waiting for that green flag to come out. He finally stands on the loud pedal, and here we go, green flag. Vincent looks like he spun the tires as they were trying to get up to speed. He's now going to have to battle hard with Nelson Rivera down in turn 1 for that second position.
And at this point, it's best possible scenario for him because 2 wide, 2 rows deep behind. Rivera on the inside and Vincent on the outside in the fight for second. And behind the fight for P4, going to go to the dotted on to Stefan Marinak as he gets around the 20 of A.J. Browning. And Browning now falls back and has to deal with the 25 of Joseph Tice. Outside, aggressive move to the inside. 13 almost cleared inside of turn 1. And I think off of turn 2, he'll get the job done. And he's got a whale of steam. So not only does he get P2, does he go for the move for P1? Not yet. Patience, the key for the 13 of Dwayne Vincent. He's right there knocking on the doorstep, but not ready to dive out quite yet.
Well, it's going to become decision time here, and somebody cue the Jaws theme. The 99 is Stefan Marinak just lurking back there, trying to work around the outside of Nelson Rivera for third, and Rivera doing the best he can, but Marinak shows he has the faster car, and, going to take a page out of Evan Pasoko's playbook. Somebody's going to have to start abusing the poultry here in just a few laps here as we're coming up to 40 to go. So somebody's going to have to punch the chicken to get into the chase, and it could be Dwayne. Oh, Dwayne Vincent! Passing the grass, almost lost it, and Stefan Marinak to head up into second, Rivera into third, and Vincent in one fell swoop goes from second to fourth, from the penthouse to the outhouse.
There's a 13 on the car, not a 3. That's why he lost 2 spots from it. Vincent from P2 back to P4. Marinak going to take over the number 2 spot now. That's 7 to Nelson Rivera. You saw he go through as well. So he goes up to the 4th position. And now Dwayne Vincent can't even focus on trying to get those spots back because he's got to deal with He'll stay in front for this time, but they are absolutely hounding each other inside of the next final 40 laps of this race. And now the 45 cross it over. It's Shed and Tice for P5.
Dwayne Vincent trying to gather himself up after that very close call down the front straightaway a couple of laps ago. Sitting in the 4th position now. He's finally able to shake the 25 of Joseph Tice, and now he's trying to get back to Nelson Rivera for that 3rd position. Meanwhile, at the front, Kyle Tarasca maintains about a 3-car length advantage over Stefan Marinak, trying to drive away from the field here in the closing 45 laps of this event. He has no contest from behind him right now, as Stefan Marinak is just trying to do everything he can to keep pace with him. Just not able to quite run him down right now, but it looks like he got a good run off turn 4, trying to close that gap. It looks like he's going to close it down about a half a tenth right there, so Stefan Marinak starting to sneak up there. He goes to the high line down in turns 1 and 2, trying to get that run off the high banks to get that big run of speed, or big head of steam down the back straightaway.
The 99 machine, the Got Balls Toyota, trying to give it to him late. It is a 2.5 car length gap between P1 and a P2 at the moment. The 88 leads the way, the 99 chases, and all at the same time. They try to pull away from the last spot on the podium. 3rd for Nelson Rivera on back. Dwayne Vincent, he gets the 4th spot back from that small battle with Tice. Again, Tice still had the hold off Carl Shedd. Carl Shedd now beginning to fall back into the clutches of Matt Lacrosse and Thomas George, and that now already 1.5 seconds off of the battle for the race lead. It's only a matter of time. Can the 99 get to him? They're even. He's got to be better. They'll have to wait. Caution. Flag flies at 35 to go. Problems with the number 30 machine of Josue Tellez on the back straightaway, and actually this looks like it stems all the way to turn number 1. A heavily damaged Snap-on Chevrolet from 30th position and 44 laps down. Car beat up and out of shape. He spins it out and the yellow's out.
Yeah, unfortunate set of circumstances right there for that number 30 machine, and it's unfortunate for the battle for the race lead because Stefan Marinak had closed right onto the back bumper. You see the replay of the accident now on your screen. You see what happened there with the number 30 machine, but Stefan Marinak was closing in and almost right on the back bumper of Kyle Tarasca when that happened. He was really starting to close in. That longer run speed was starting to show up for the number 99 machine. Now they're going to have to rack them and stack them one more time as they're catching up to the pace car now. We should see all these drivers come to pit road at least one more time. I'm sorry, they actually are on pit road. I was a little off on my replay here. Stefan Marinak in his pit box leading the rest of the field down, and Evan, I believe you're going to call this down here on pit road.
Curious to see what's going to happen with Tarasca because he's in pit stall number 24. It's shy of the start-finish line. So his service is going to be complete. He's got a long drive down, and he'll lose at least one. The 99 going to end up in front. The final 5 pit stalls not going to provide any additional action. The 88, he tries to back off, and it is going to work. What a move by Kyle Tarasca, losing the race lead on the pit lane to the 99 of Stefan Marinak, but then in position to come out of pit road P2, and it looked like he tried to brake and get himself behind what was going to be the 7 car because he tried to place himself, Justin, on the inside of row number 2. Little did he know Dwayne Vincent was coming up, and unfortunately, instead of being on the outside of the front row, that attempted strategy play going to put him on the outside of the 2nd row.
Yeah, it's going to be...
Well, really, that could play out to be in the leader's advantage because all Marinak has to do is elect to take the high lane. We've seen Tarasca do it with success on a restart, but a few drivers have stayed out here on the restart. We'll recap that for you. Dan Murray is being scored as your race leader. The one is Sean Castro. In 2nd spot, he is being scored there with no tires on that machine. So 2 drivers staying out, Marinak, Rivera, Vincent, Tarasca, and the 21 of Matt Lacrosse will be the rest of those drivers, the 5 drivers that have come off of pit road. I'm 4 fresh ones. Going to see if these guys stay out either for track position or if they're just going to come in at 1 to go so they kind of hang back out of the way. It's really going to be anybody's guess here, but if these 2 stay out, we could be in for another case of yellow fever.
But we do know the cautions breed cautions when you get late in these races. That's exactly what can happen. But Dan Murray is most definitely in front of the field. Sean Casto, P2. Stefan Marinak, 3rd. 4th is Nelson Rivera. And then you got Dwayne Vincent, P5. Kyle Tarasca in P6. So, through all of that, we talked about the strategy play by Tarasca that may just cost him a shot at the win. I do love the intensity. I like the thought behind it. I think he ended up being somewhere in the range of a couple of thousand short. We see Casto, he'll dive in from P2, but the 5 of Dan Murray does not. So we come by this time. The lights are out on the pace car, and forget about the positioning we just told you about. It's going to be the number 5 Toyota on the inside of the front row in control of the field when we come by to take 31 laps to go. This now has Marinac to the outside of row number 2. To the inside of row 3 is Rivera. Vincent outside of row 2 into P4. And a Kyle Tarasca, who could have been in the spot that he wanted. All said and done, if he just rolled off pit road in second, he's now back in 5th.
Yeah, he's going to be sitting back there in that 5th position wondering what could have been here. On his next restart, Dan Murray is going to be the race leader, as you mentioned. And on the older tires, it's going to be interesting to see if he can get up to speed without spinning the tires at all. And with 31 laps to go when they take the green flag here, it's going to be very interesting to see how long he can hang on to that top spot. Stefan Marinak's in the catbird seat here as they get ready to come to the green, Evan. He's got fresh tires on that front row, and he's going to be ready to go when they get ready to go back.
Is this going to be for the final time tonight? 119 laps going to go behind us. 31 laps to go from Concord, North Carolina. The pace car going to get down to the safety of pit road. Dan Murray on the gas out of turn 4. Green flag back in the air.
Up to the gearbox for what we hope may be the final time on the evening. Murray going to break away from the pack. The 7 of Rivera going to work into the inside of Marinac. The 88 of Tarasca is right there as well. It's a 4, 5, 6, 7 car battle for that second spot. It's all Dan Murray all by his lonesome at the front of the field. Tarasca working to the inside of Marinac. He's looking right there, but Marinac going to charge hard around the outside. He's there, wheel to wheel for second as they drag race down the front straightaway.
No room, so they'll split them. And the inside is the 5. They'll beat and bang. And there goes Rivera down to the apron and back up hard into the outside wall. He'll collect Thomas J. George. The caution is back out. And 2 drivers on the front row. And you can throw all 3 of them into the conversation, if you will. Refused to lift. And luckily for Dan Murray, somehow he's the one that is able to escape from that. The 99 is Stefan Marinac up against the outside wall. Going to go to the race lead. And Nelson Rivera's night, just like that, may very well be done. But from a racing perspective, Brian, that was fun to watch.
Oh, that was a blast to watch. Those guys were battling hard. That is what it means to win here in the Full Throttle Cup Series here at Real Sim Racing. These guys all wanted to get the job done, and unfortunately it didn't work out for those guys. Thomas George was collected. Dwayne Vincent also got a piece of that. When Nelson came back across the track, he pancaked Dwayne Vincent up against the wall. So some pretty significant left side damage and right side damage to that number 13 machine. Probably going to see him come to pit road to get some service done on that machine, and unfortunately probably going to make the rest of his night pretty painful with less than 30 laps to go. We're getting ready to see these guys, and it looks like quite a few drivers coming to pit road. Dan Murray, Kyle Tarasca coming in. Dwayne Vincent actually elects to stay out, so a couple of these guys at the front chose to come in, and then the rest of them all chose to stay out. Very surprising call here.
The 99 and the 13, they're going to stay out, go to P1 and 2, and a pit service going to be completed for some intermittent drivers behind there who want to get some 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles and try to utilize in the final 25 laps of action. We'll take this opportunity to step away one final time, and we'll go LSRTV nonstop so you don't miss a moment of the action. It's heating up in Charlotte, and Stefan Marinac going to lead us to 25 laps to go at the FTC Charlotte 225. You're watching LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
While lions are notorious for their voracious appetites, they spend a great deal of time feeding other creatures. In fact, lions will take great care to ensure there's plenty to go around. As you can see, they keep giving with utter ferocity. Bravo, lions, and bon appetit. Do good, be a lion.
Welcome back live to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Lights on the pace car are out, and we are getting set for maybe this time what could be the final restart. We're 125 laps in of a 150 lapper here tonight for the Charlotte Motor Speedway, the FTC Charlotte 225 in the home stretch. Stefan Marinak ends up in front of the field with a beaten and battered Dwayne Vincent to the outside. Greg Evans, Matt Lacrosse, Joseph Tyson on the top 5. They're accompanied by 16 other drivers with 21 cars total still on the lead lap. And this one has yet to be decided. But from 19th on the grid, from 13th, from 21st and 32nd is where 1 through 4 sequentially started this race. A caution flag right in the middle of pit cycles is what really jumbled up the running order. You only got 2 drivers who started top 10 running inside of the top 12 at this juncture. A couple of late race wrecks have taken out some of the bigger names. Are we done with the carnage? The pace car to the inside. 25 laps to go and Marinak's off.
As Marinak comes up through the gearbox, is 25 laps to go as we hit the start-finish line. Greg Evans trying to slip around the 13 of Dwayne Vincent, and Dwayne Vincent, you can pretty much kiss his tail end goodbye. His car, a lot of tail end damage on that machine, and he's just going to be dropping through the field like a rock. But all said, Evans looks like he's got a rocket in the Amsoil Chevrolet. He's in the tire tracks of Stefan Marinak. Gap is about 4 car lengths as they set sail off of turn number 4.
We've seen the last couple of times guys up front get there by strategy and they get run down quick. Well, Stefan Marinak, he's on an even footing as Greg Evans and Matt Lacrosse. Can they catch him? 0.4 of a second. The gap that he was able to pull off of that first lap got some side-by-side behind him inside of the top 10. The Donnie and David Washington. He fights with Christopher Hurlow in front of them. Now Carl Shed to the inside of Dwayne Vincent, who with that damage that I noted is just trying to hang on to a decent finish, and problems behind caution.
Yet again under the caution flag here. Off turn 4, David Washington, the number 98 machine, got a little loose off the corner, and unfortunately, it looks like he got down on the apron just a little bit and unfortunately lost it. Stephanie Lessentine did a very good job avoiding him, but we are back under caution yet again here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. I don't think anybody got any damage out of that one. David Washington just spun it down through the grass and managed to keep it off the inside wall and the outside wall, so he should be good to go.
Yeah, and it looked like he was side by side with the 87. I saw the 87 of Hurlow start to come down the track a little bit, and we have seen a little bit of netcode, so I think the 98 just wanted to get as low as he could, and he just got the left side tires adjusted on that white line. Didn't really get much of that tire over the white line, but he got right there, and it just upset that car, and then a little bit of a tap to the 77 of Stephanie Lessentine. A good job to get up as high as she could. She still gets him in the right rear and spins him out, but it could have been a lot worse if she plowed right into the side of him. Was all it needed to send David Washington around, and another strong car finding late race problems.
Yeah, and that's really going to be all that it really takes. And, we're just hearing from the guys down at Aegis Motorsports that they just touched the white line, and that's all you really need here at Charlotte to really break that car loose. There's something about the grip level on that paint strip just really de-wedges the car really bad, and just really wants to send the car around, and really going to have to see how it affects Mr. Washington here as he tries to get some lobster rolls amongst other things, and going to see how he can salvage the finish there.
At a slow pace, pit road open and an option for these guys, but at this point, you got 21 laps to go. It seems like the track position may trump over getting fresh tires. Again, we saw people in that last caution come down, get some tires. They're towards the back. They haven't really had an opportunity to make those work, and especially when you consider the fact that we were all on pit road together not that long ago. I would doubt, I'll say, that the fresh tires towards the back are going to be good enough to get through. It might just come down to who's got the car in one piece when it's all said and done. And the best person off is Stefan Marinak, because all night long we have seen, regardless of who it is, regardless of if they choose the inside or the outside, old tires, new tires, Brian, whoever our leader is, the control car out of 4, being able to go when that pace car dives down at that instant, they're accelerating, coming down and out of turn number 4, and they're almost using, if you will, those 24 degrees of angle to get them going. And they set sail, so the 99 has been clear. Like I said, he got a 4/10 of a second gap that last time on that opening lap off of the restart. The leaders are getting so far away that luckily enough for them, despite how much problems guys inside the top 5 have been having, they're just in front of the accidents, which is obviously the best position you want to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the safest place on the racetrack to be, is ahead of everybody else. And like you said, the leader has had the advantage all night long. They've just been able to get back up through the gears and up to speed so much better than everybody else. Not sure if it's because of where he's at on the racetrack, like you mentioned, using the banking, or if they're just able to, because they can control when the restart happens, if they're just able to get on the gas and do it at their own pace. Not really sure how it's working out for those guys, but it's been that way all night long, and you have to believe it's going to continue to be that way. But just look at this top 10 and compare it to what we saw just 50 laps ago. This is a completely different top 10, with the exception of, it looks like maybe Joseph Tice and Carl Shedd. Everybody else was either at the very back of the top 10 or outside of the top 10, and now they're up here battling for top 5s and a shot to win this race. So it just shows you how quickly things can change in a race. We were talking about Anthony DeBarro and Mitch Rollo running away with this thing, and Thomas George having a very solid run, and all 3 of those drivers are now out of the race. So things happen very quickly here, and they can change in the blink of an eye, and that's exactly what we've seen here tonight at Charlotte.
We're going to take the green flag this time by Justin. Are we going to get 19 laps green through the end of this one?
I highly doubt that. I think we still got at least 2 more cautions left in this race. And really, the guys that are around 5th or 6th on back, it's kind of beyond me why they haven't come down to take tires yet, because it's going to be a big advantage because you already still have tire pressure build up through the guys just driving around underneath the caution flag.
We're going to find out. The pace car down, and green flag back in the air. Marinac gets clear. The 23 of Evans, he is clear for P2. Lacrosse going to battle with Tyson at 3rd position, side-by-side, in front of a side-by-side fight as well, with the 13 of Dwayne Vincent and 45 of Carl Shedd. But the 2 cars that are clear are racing each other down the back.
Yep, Greg Evans trying to get there. Joseph Tice also back there trying to battle for that 3rd position. All these guys trying to get everything they can. Matt Lacrosse battling with Joseph Tice, trying to hold him off as they come off turn 4. He's going to be able to do it. Greg Evans, right in front of those guys, however, is trying to see if he can run down Stefan Marinac. But Stefan got a really great restart and a very solid run that entire lap, and he's going to have about a 4-car length advantage as they work down the back straightaway here. Just doing what he has to do to hang on to this lead. He's not really running too hard, but he's not running away from this thing either. He's just doing what he has to do to try to maintain this race lead. And Greg Evans trying to do everything he can to get up there and battle for the win. Matt Lacrosse as well. All these drivers trying to do what they can in the closing stages of the race. Not a lot of battling going on right now. You have to go all the way back to Stephanie Lessentine in that number 77 machine. She's battling with the damaged Dwayne Vincent machine off turn 2, trying to pass him and take away that 8th position. Dwayne Vincent not giving an inch, though. He's going to fight for every position to the closing laps of this race. He is not going to let anybody go. That's just good old-fashioned Dwayne Vincent right there. He battles as hard as he can, no matter how bad his car looks.
I'll reiterate what I said earlier. I think I haven't seen Stephanie Lessentine single file for much of this race. Started 14th. She got up to 7th early, and has kind of been stuck in limbo at that point right in this battle. She gets P8 from Vincent, and now the 13 may have to deal with Kyle Tarasca in the number 88 Chevrolet, who at one point looked like maybe this was his race to steal. He's trying to march his way back up through, side by side in front of these, and door to door, maybe a little bit of contact, too close for comfort. Shedd on the outside, Hurlo on the inside, at a battle for P5, and these guys are going at it.
Yeah, these guys, no love lost there as we are in the waning stages. These two are giving each other exactly 0 room on the racetrack as it stands. Hurlo trapped on the bottom side, and here Joseph Tice and Carl Shedd up ahead had to back out of it a little bit. Hurlo going to clear the 45 of Carl Shedd. Shedd going to try to crossover move, but not going to make it work as Hurlo had the momentum there off the bottom side, got a better run, was able to put the power down on his Toyota as his Toyota, and then and guess what? Another Toyota right there. 4 Toyotas lined up in a row from about 5th on back to 9th, and Hurlo just trying to do what he can to get back up there. But as it stands right now, Marinac's just starting to pick him up and put him down. He's out to about 4/10. We'll see if it's closer to half a second as they cross the start-finish line.
The battle for P3 may be inbound before that 21 gets a chance at P2. It looks like Tice to the inside on Matt Lacrosse. Looked like he had the position, backed off it, though, got back in line. Going to be just 12 laps to go the next time around the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And Greg Evans kind of stuck at 45/100ths of a second back. Is a little bit of problems behind your leaders. That doesn't affect the battle inside the top 10. Stephanie Lessentine, here's a shocker. Side by side again. She wants P7 back, and she's trying the inside on Rhett McBride.
Yeah, we've seen her on that outside line most of the night, but here, as we work off into turn one, she's going to try the bottom for one of the first times tonight. Not able to get that run that she needs on Rhett McBride. She's going to have to settle back in line for right now. Battle for the third position, though, as here comes Joseph Tice to the inside of Matt Lacrosse, trying to take that position away. He dives it to the bottom, down in 3 and 4, not able to do it. Matt Lacrosse uses the momentum off that outside line to clear him, get the run, and here comes Christopher Hurlow looking to the outside, not going to make it happen. He looks to the inside, not going to make that happen either. Just not able to go anywhere to get that run or take that run and do something with it. But he gets a big run off turn 2 once again down the back straightaway. Now he's going to dive to the inside of Joseph Tice. They're side by side as they go to turn 3.
We talked about patience a lot earlier in this one, Justin, and for that 25 at Tice, maybe he had a chance at going at the 21 of Matt Lacrosse, thought better of it, waited, and now instead of trying to jump up and take over P3, he's being faced with possibly dropping back to P5. He holds off the 87, but he's right there on his heels.
Yeah, he definitely wants that high line. You can see him run about a half a car width higher than the 21 of Matt Lacrosse, and you can see him now peeking to the inside of that quick car racing product Chevrolet. He's going to dive it down to the bottom, right down to that white stripe. He's got about a quarter panel on the inside of Matt Lacrosse, and he's going to have to pinch it down a little bit, and that's going to allow Matt Lacrosse to run back around and clear the 25 of Tice, and that's going to allow the 87 of Christopher Hurlow to do his part. He's sneaking right back up in the battle. He's going to try to take it 2 wide, maybe look at taking it 3 wide as they sail off of turn 2 down the back straightaway.
87 thinks about going low, doesn't do it. 25 stays in line with the 21, and it's going to be a good fight for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. But up front, running away, Stefan Marinak. He's 0.8 of a second in front, side by side out of 4. Big run for Joseph Tice. He'll get the nose on the 21, and in the center of the corner, you see he rides up off the white line, trying to take as much of Matt Lacrosse's line away. Caution with 7 laps to go.
And down here in turns 1 and 2, it's Stephanie Lessentine not having the finish to the night that she wanted. Had such a great run all night long, but going all down the front straightaway, she was battling with Dan Murray. They made contact going through the dogleg, and she got turned sideways and got turned around going into turn 1. Not a lot of damage on that number 77 machine, but lost a ton of track position, and unfortunately is going to have her chances at a good finish taken away here tonight.
And she locked it up. It did come to a complete stop on the racetrack, which is where the caution flag comes from. A good save, though, to keep it out of the inside wall, to keep it out of the outside wall. And we talked about how good that car has been all night long. She's now scored in 21st position after being a top 10 car for the better part of tonight. And it was something that we really didn't talk a whole lot about in this race is the front stretch here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Justin, because a lot of tracks at a tri-oval, you have a very broad and gradual left-hand sweep over the front stretch. Here, you got 2 dog legs. There's 2 kinks, one right before the start-finish line and one after, where you got to make essentially an additional turn. And they made it through that first one okay, and they had about a half a car length to a car length between them at the line, but it's when they had to turn in again at the 77, a little bit of a tighter turn to 5, a little bit of a wider turn, and they get into each other. That's not uncommon to see here at Charlotte. Terrible circumstances for both of those cars to happen late.
Yeah, very much indeed, but it was going to set up a show for us. It's going to be either 2 or 3 laps to go once we take the green flag, and really, if you're Greg Evans, you were really starting to fade away there. This may be what you need to get them tires cooled down, to give you just one last desperation shot at the 99 of Marinak, who's really asserted his authority as of late in the going, with a couple of the early contenders falling by the wayside as it stands. So really, if you're Tice, if you're Hurley, have any chance whatsoever at getting to the back door of the Meatball Company number 99 Toyota of Stefan Marinak. So really, we'll set it up for you just one more time. Marinak out front, the 20 Greg Evans, Joseph Tyson, the 25, the 21 of Matt Lacrosse in fourth, the 87 of Christopher Hurlow is the one who's riding out the top 5.
We always talk about inside of the final 5 laps, a caution will end this race. So we got one at 7 laps to go. So we ended up not going those final 19 laps green to the end. It looked like we were going to be able to. Your leader especially was running away with this, but it was Stefan Baranak's race to lose. And now he's got to do it one more time. And as good as that 99 has been, Brian, as good as he has been and has not faltered on these restarts especially, good out of the gate, good at maintaining the gap. And if this was a restart with 55 laps to go, I think he'd have all the confidence in the world that he'd have no problem just pulling off another restart. But this is going to be a 3 or 2 lap shootout to the end of this race, and you know that he could have easily gone without having to go through the motions one more time. Again, he's been good at it in the last 10, 15 laps when he's had to do it, but you don't want to give yourself, and you don't want to be put into a situation where you have one more opportunity to make a mistake. You haven't made one yet. You don't want to keep giving yourself opportunities to it. He's going to have to be picture perfect on this one, because you can bet those guys behind him, they're going to be going for it if the last 45 laps have been any indication.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right there. And for Stefan Baranak, I'm sure that that's in his mind, but he's done such a good job all night long, keeping himself out of trouble and doing good on the restarts here since he's had the lead. I don't think you're going to see him be too nervous. He's been around for quite a while. He's got a lot of experience under his belt, and I think he's going to be all right here. Definitely, like you said, you don't want to have to keep going through this because so many things can happen, especially now that you have a few laps on these tires. I think this is the first time we've seen these guys after 15 to 20 laps still being out here on the same set of tires, so we could see a little bit of tire spin out of some of these guys, so that could play a factor. But I think Stefan Baranak's going to be all right here. It's going to be up to the rest of these guys to try to match him, which we have not seen anybody be able to do with the race leaders. The race leaders seem to have the advantage pretty much all night long on these restarts.
Yeah, we got to one cycle of green flag pit stops tonight, Justin, and even with that, not everybody got through it. So, with the exception of maybe 4 cars, you have to put your best laps down right now with the worst that car has been all night long.
Yeah, that's really going to be the deciding factor here as we get ready to go back underneath the green flag. Stefan Baranak, Joseph Tice, Christopher Hurlow, the drivers on the in. They had the most distinct advantage because it looked like they had the better cars as this run was going on. The 23 of Greg Evans, the 21 of Matt Lacrosse looked like they were fading. Pace car off. Coming down pit to the green flag for the final time. Everybody coming up to the gearbox. Stefan Baranak gets the jump, and right there, the 25 of Joseph Tice spun the tires really hard. He's working to the inside of the 21 of Matt Lacrosse for that 3rd spot, but Evans is coming, and they're all into the wall off of turn 2.
They're going to wreck behind. Caution flag will fly, and somehow Joseph Tice is going to steal this one at Charlotte. The 99 of Stefan Baranak knew that they were coming, and I think it's going to be given to the 25. They'll go back, check the tape. But the 99, he overdrove it. I said, Brian, that you don't want to give yourself an opportunity to make a mistake, and it happened. He hit the fence, the 23 in the fence, the 21 in the wall, they wreck behind, and just moments after that, 25 gets his nose in front, the caution comes out, the field is frozen at that point, and it is very clear that when the lights come out of pace cars, you take a second look at the carnage, that Joseph Tice was a car length in front, and somehow he'll be in victory lane tonight.
Yeah, that was absolutely wild. That was just a case of everybody digging for every inch on that racetrack. Stefan Baranak was trying to do what he could. He just overdrove the corner. I mentioned it right before the restart. This was the first time all night long these guys were going to be restarting on old tires. We had seen them come in and get fresh tires after a handful of laps all night long, but here on this last restart, they were all on old tires, which definitely changed the factors here. When they went off into turn 1, they didn't have the grip they've had all night long. They were on with those older tires. They couldn't get back in the gas as hard as they wanted to, and when they tried, we saw what happened there. They all went straight to the wall.
Couple of second looks at that one. Who would have thought that would have been the result? For the worst of it all, not only does Stefan Baranak drive himself into the fence, and you know that he's going to think about this finish for a long time. It's not that he just hit the wall and then he lost it because he stuck in the wall and everybody drove by. You know, at that point, it wasn't even over for him because everybody else basically did the same thing. Everybody on the outside line, they followed him right up to the bright yellow on the top side of the racetrack. And if the caution comes out when those cars are sideways, he wins. But the caution not out until those cars make contact with the fence, then come back up into the traffic, and when they're facing the wrong way around up on the racing surface, that is what triggers the yellow flag to fly. And I don't know how, but he started in third position on the night, and on a final restart to the melee in turn number 2, Joseph Tice going to come into turn number 4. He'll take the checker and the yellow. He's your winner from Charlotte.
Stefan Maronak going to take home the second spot, and a very disappointing finish for him. The 23 of Greg Evans takes the third spot on the bottom step of the podium. The 54 of Tim Matthews somehow clears his way through the mess to finish fourth, and Rhett McBride in the 2 salvages where he was running for some time through the middle stages of the race to round out your top 5. The 51 of Nick Silver rebounds after an accident to finish 6th. David Washington finishes 7th. The 8th goes to the 13 of Dwayne Vincent. The 12 of Ross Cato will finish 9th. The 48 of Kevin Linden will round out the top 10.
Those are the drivers that come home in the top finishing positions tonight. We end with 16 cars total on the lead lap, and this one is all said and done. And Joseph Tice going to bring the Aegis Chevrolet out of the final quarter, and he awaits a celebration in Concord tonight after just putting himself in the right position. And sometimes you'll take him how you can get him, but Joseph Tice, he'll punch his ticket to an RSR championship bid with a win here tonight in Charlotte. We'll step away one more time, await the 25 to meet us down in Gatorade Victory Lane. A thrilling finish to the FTC Charlotte 225, and we're far from done. The post-race show coming up next on LSRTV. You're watching the 2016 Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series.
Excited to be here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca this weekend and driving in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Right before this, on Tuesday, we announced that I'll be driving in the Indy 500, in the 100th running of the Indy 500 for KV Racing Technologies, sponsored by Indiana Donor Network, and a campaign that's all about organ donation and honoring those that were organ donors. Yeah, excited to be for the month of May that's around the corner and driving the number 25. Driven to Save Lives Chevrolet for KV Racing Technologies. We're actually driving in the iRacing 24 Hours of Daytona, which was a long 24 hours. My eyes were a bit sore after that, staring at the screen for a long time, but one of the teammates there has helped me actually design the livery for the car, and really thankful to Michael Peters for all the time he's put into designing what I think is a really cool looking livery. I've actually been using the iAdvanced Motorsport Simulator that Darren Manning set up. Beautiful system, beautiful setup. So it's as realistic as you can get, and be running a few laps to get the visual references down when we hit the track on May 16th. Yeah, I'd encourage everyone to check out and follow the number 25 Driven to Save Lives car in May, and also visit the driventosavelives.org website, where you can find out a little bit more about my story, and also Justin's story, which is the reason why this all became. I never even knew about organ donation, never really gave it much thought until last August when he lost Justin, and his heroic act of being an organ donor saved 5 lives. Really got to see the impact that was able to make, and through a very hard time, that was probably the one shining light out of that, was just his act and his selfless act, and just the impact that had, not just in the 5 lives that he saved, but also people since that have similar stories, similar tragedies that happen in their life, and they've been through a very similar thing, and also people reaching out and saying that they became a donor because of that, and that goes beyond saving 5 lives. That could save more than that. So it's just carrying on Justin's legacy, and just really happy to be promoting that foundation.
Want to welcome you back live to the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Racetrack is quiet now in Concord, North Carolina. We're here for the post-race show at the FTC Charlotte 225, the 12th round of the 2016 Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series, presented by Gary Mercer Trucking, and Sim Vibe by Sim Experience has come to a close, and in a strange and thrilling and still somewhat confusing turn of events at the end of it all, Joseph Tice is down in Gatorade Victory Lane, awaiting us in just a moment. Let's take a look at your LSRTV full race results. Round number 12 to 25 gets the job done. Stefan Baranek P2, and Greg Evans on the podium after starting in 21st. He gets a third spot. We'll talk with your top three finishers in a moment. Tim Matthews behind with a P4 finish tonight. Rhett McBride, a solid result of fifth. Nick Silver going to take a plus 20 on the night to get a sixth spot at the end of it all. Seventh position for David Washington. Dwayne Vincent behind him in eighth. Ninth spot for Ross Cato, and at 48 of Kevin Linden rounds out your top 10.
11th goes to the 20 of A.J. Browning. The 77 of Stephanie Lessentine will finish 12th. 13th to the 1 of Sean Castro. The 5 of Dan Murray will finish 14th. 15th to the 34 of Sean Boundy. The 69 of Corbin Hemstreet will finish 16th. The last car on the lead lap. 2 laps down, and 17th will be the 45 of Carl Shedd and Matt Cross. And the 21 will finish 18th. 19th to the 87 of Christopher Hurlow. 88 of Kyle Tarasco will round out the top 20.
Nelson Rivera, after spending much of his night in the top 10, will not get a finish that he's looking for. Finishes 21st here tonight. Steve Gottschalk finishes 22nd. Adam Blattle finishes 23rd. Scott Simley is 24th. Our pole sitter, Thomas George, he did not have the night he was looking for either. He finishes 25th. Scott Stenzel is 26th. Shane Ewing is 27th. 28th goes to Jose Tellez. Anthony DeBarro, who dominated most of this night, had some issues there towards the end. He's going to finish in the 29th position, and rounding out the top 30, Doug Roth finishes 30th.
31st for Mitch Rollo, and again, all of these cars behind the wall. Todd Wikowitzki in 32nd. 33rd for Mike Kelly. Daniel Everhart, 34th. 35th is Scott Eckridge. Jose Gonzalez, 36th. 37th for Michael Priester. Josh Chaney, 38th. 39th is Douglas Wyatt. And shotgun Mike Montesi in 40th position. That's a look at your LSR TV full race results. Right spot at the right time. Those words don't ring much truer than they do right now. He lined himself up to the inside of row number 2 on the restart. And we were talking about names. We were talking about who was going to be in it. And we thought it was going to be the 99 and the 23 going at it. They went at each other a little bit too hard, and there to pick up the pieces and to walk away with a win tonight was Joseph Tice, your winner for the FTC Charlotte 225, caught up with the driver of the number 25 Chevrolet down in Victory Lane. And Joseph, first off, congratulations. You're in Victory Lane at the end of what is a very wild and bizarre evening at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and I'm sure you have absolutely nothing to object about that.
Oh, no, definitely not. It was definitely a long, trying night. I mean, times felt like we were at Martinsville instead of Charlotte, but I knew tonight would be a really good opportunity for me. I'm pretty good at Charlotte, and I think a handful of guys are too, but yeah, just so glad to get the win.
We saw a lot of problems early, a lot of problems in the middle, and to be fair, a lot of problems late with guys getting loose into turn 1, coming out of turn 2, really everywhere, as turn 4 as well. A lot of guys losing the handle on the cars, and with that being said, a lot of the guys, they didn't back off because of that. They were still going at each other, racing hard. What were track conditions like out there for most of the night? Because a lot of people slipping and sliding around.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely challenging. You know, there's a really big bump going down into turn 1 that if you're on the bottom and you might just get loose and just take the guy out on top of you. So you got to be really careful about that. If the guy on top is nice, he might let you go. And, you know, turn 3, if you're on the bottom, you get really tight. You probably push up into the guy. So it's just like you're loose at one end, you're kind of tight at the other. And you know, if you're in the top, you always just got to be careful. If the car gets so tight, it's just going to bust the wall. So, you know, it's just you got to always be on top of the car. Every corner's different. Every lap's different.
A win here at Charlotte, a big step for your team as well, and it continues a statement that the Aegis Motorsports Group is doing. This win going to put you on the grid at the time being for an opportunity to bid for an RSR championship. What does that mean for you?
It's so huge. I was actually talking to Dave today, and I was saying that I've been bouncing around the 16th bubble spot here for about the last 4 or 5 races, and I was telling Dave today I know I'm going to unfortunately miss a race here in a couple 3 weeks, and so I really have to have a win because I wasn't going to get in on points. So, that's all good, done, and gone behind me now. I can just run my races and get ready for the chase now.
We want to let you go and celebrate with the team, Joseph. Before we do, the sponsors, the shout-outs, all of those good folks behind the scenes. Who gets that 25 to the track?
Yeah, there's a whole lot. I got to thank Julio Trezado, my team owner, my teammates, Dave, Carl, and Daniel. He's put together a great team, and we really work together well. My spotter, Trevor, he's awesome. There's no way to describe it. Bruce, Carl's spotter, he calls a lot of the strategy for us. He's pretty good. Got to thank my wife for allowing me to do this. Every Monday night, she takes about 3 hours out of her night and lets me do this. And thank the RSR admins for putting on such a great league. Thank you guys for the booth, and got to thank all the military out there who protect us. And this is kind of our Memorial Day run, just like the Cup Series. So got to remember those guys. So thanks a lot.
Want to thank you for sticking around and chatting with us, Joseph. Congratulations. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we know that you guys will be ready to go at it once again next Monday night. We'll see you then.
All right, see you guys.
Your winner tonight for the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Joseph Tice, gets the job done in incredible fashion. And on the flip side of that excitement is Stefan Baranek, the 99 machine, in a spot to win this race, and probably could have done without that caution at 7 laps to go. He still gets a second out of it, but at that point, doesn't even matter. He's caught up pit side. Justin Rose now is with the driver of the 99.
Alongside the driver of the 99, Stefan Marinak comes home with a very disappointing second place. Stefan, you worked around all race long. You kind of snuck your way up there, and all of a sudden you pounced. And then what happened on that final restart? Did you just snow the tires over, or what happened?
Well, I've been going full throttle in that turn all night, and I guess just with the tires, like with how worn they were, when I went in there full throttle, it just pushed up in the wall, and Greg followed me right into it, and it just allowed time to get around us.
A couple races here, a few races there, are you necessarily looking at running for points, or was this really like your greatest hope for trying to get into the chase and try to make that top 30 in points?
Yeah, I mean, so far it's been my only chance at winning this season. I mean, like you said, if I stay out of wrecks, I get good finishes, but I haven't really been able to stay out of much this year. But I am going for the points. I mean, I can't really be too mad about this. It was a great points night. I got the points for winning because I led the most laps, I think. So I should be good. This is a step in the right direction.
With a lot more intermediates coming up, you really have to look forward to what could be, like you said, as long as you keep your nose clean. How does this carry the 99 team going forward, especially with a lot of the intermediates coming up?
Yeah, I definitely do like intermediates. I'm pretty confident with Michigan next week. That's been a good track to me. And then Daytona, anyone can win there. It's kind of hit or miss. But, I'm just going to keep staying with it. Scott Simley told me a couple races ago, just try to survive all race and then go for it at the end. And, you'll always get a good finish doing that. And I've been applying that for the past 4 weeks. It's worked with 3 of them. So I'm going to keep doing that.
Sponsors, shout-outs. Who's responsible for getting you on the middle step of the podium tonight?
Yeah, I want to thank Schmoes No and Cody for setting that up. They have an awesome YouTube channel. They review movies and stuff, so check them out. I want to thank my teammate Jose Gonzalez. He got a lot of crap tonight, and same people accusing him of it are doing the same thing. So, and I want to thank you guys at LSRTV. You guys do great broadcasts.
Thank you for that. That's the driver of the number 99, Stefan Marinak, comes home with a very disappointing second-place finish. He'll gather it back up and try to set sail for another chance at victory in 1 week's time. And a little bit further down pit road, Brian Macklin, you caught up with the 23 of Greg Evans.
Yeah, I've caught up with an exhausted driver, the number 23 machine, Greg Evans. I'm going to start with that last restart. We're just going to start right there. What happened, and what did you see from your view?
Honestly, I really don't know. We have been driving down the one pretty hard on the restarts and never had an issue. And all of a sudden, there was just no grip. And I cracked the throttle getting in there thinking, and it was going to have some grip there, and it just wasn't nothing. And I seen Stephen push up the track, and I seen everybody behind me push up the track, and I was like, well, I might as well just stay in throttle now. There ain't much we can do. But man, that was wild. Really didn't expect that to happen, but still glad to come home with a third place finish.
It was a very long night, too. We saw a series of cautions throughout most of the night, and only one decent long green flag run where we saw green flag pit stops. How challenging was it from the driver's seat to go through all those restarts and all the cautions and have to get into a rhythm only to have it broke because of the cautions? How difficult is it to do in a race that's this long?
Man, it's really difficult. I really thought we had a really good car, and then we kept making our way up to the front, picking one off at a time. And then whenever we did finally get a green flag run, I brushed the wall, and my car got really tight. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, man, as soon as I asked for a long run, I hit the wall and then, get tight. But we finally got a caution later on and got the car fixed, and it wasn't perfect, but it was better. But it really was draining. You couldn't know they were getting a rhythm. So it was an exhausting night.
Coming into the night, you were 8th in points. We don't have the unofficial points from this race here tonight, but we assume you're going to gain a few positions there after having such a solid finish. You're pretty good as far as that's concerned with the chase. Next week at Michigan, what do you expect to happen there, and what can we expect to see out of the number 23 machine?
We've actually been running really good. We had a really good car at Dover, had the race won, and then I just lost it going into one. I had a really good car at Phoenix, and I burnt the tires off of it. And we had a really good car tonight, so hopefully we'll have a pretty good run at Michigan.
All right, Greg. Well, before we let you go, I just want to give you a chance to say thank you to your sponsors and say hello to any friends or family that might be watching back at home. Who makes it happen for you on the number 23 machine?
First and foremost, I definitely got to thank Adam Blotto with AMSOIL. He came on board this whole season for a second segment as well. I definitely got to thank him. My guys from SHR, Still Horse Racing, iCant Designs, PPG, Duct Tape and Sure Tape. Got to really thank those guys as well. But like I said, definitely check out AMSOIL if you need some AMSOIL. Get a hold of Adam Blotto or me, and I can get you a hold of him. Appreciate them guys a lot.
All right, thank you, Greg. Congratulations on your good run tonight, and we look forward to seeing you next week at the Michigan International Speedway.
Definitely, we'll be there. Thank you, guys.
All right, that was the finisher, third place finisher, Greg Evans here tonight at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. A very exhausting night here tonight, Evan Pasoko. We've had a very long night, but it was a lot of fun up here in the broadcast booth, and we're going to close this thing out here with some final words between me and you. And this was a really exciting night. We had a lot of good racing at the front. We saw a lot of people coming and going. We had Anthony DeBarro battling hard with Mitch Rollo for much of the night, but then calamity happened, and we saw a whole bunch of different faces at the front.
It's one of those races, as you say. If we were to do, a recap video and a highlight video, there'd be tons of content to show you. At the racetrack, a little bit slower pace than I think we would have liked, and a little bit of a slower pace that I'm sure the drivers would have liked. And you heard there talking with Stefan Marinak that a little bit of heated tempers post-race in this one. And to that notion also, teams disagreeing and drivers disagreeing. Aegis Motorsports coming in here doing what Boomtown Sim did 1 year ago. There's so many teams now that are competitive and can win in any week, and you see that here tonight. Third time an Aegis car gets the job done, Brian. That this is shaping up to be one of the best seasons of RSR Full Throttle Cup Series competition, I think.
Well, and that's what makes it so exciting, because there's so many different teams and so many different drivers that are competitive and fast enough to get out here and win. For the first time in a very long time, we might actually see an opportunity at having 16 different winners and having 16 different people in the chase because of a victory and not just because of points. There's that many different drivers that are fast and can compete for the win, and we still have plenty of races over the summer stretch, which, getting back to that point where you talked about it earlier, this next couple of months here, you're going to have a host of different kinds of tracks with Pocono coming up in Michigan and a couple of road courses and a short track, and then we got Daytona. There's going to be all kinds of craziness happening over the next 2 to 3 months, and that's going to create so much excitement as well, seeing what different drivers excel on those very unique style racetracks.
Yeah, like I said, that schedule is quite exciting, and you can find plenty more excited action to come in the next coming days. You can join myself at LSRTV's Andy Kessler tomorrow night for some NASCAR race night action on iRacing Live. And if you want to find out the next time you can find LSRTV on the air, you can go to our website at www.livesimracing.com or give us a like at our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/live Sim Racing TV. That does it tonight from Concord, North Carolina. On behalf of everybody on the team at LSRTV LLC and for the broadcast group tonight, I'm Evan Pasoko, and on behalf of Justin Rose, now Brian Macklin, and our producer Cisco Scaramuza, we want to congratulate Joseph Tice for getting the win in the FTC Charlotte 225, and we bid you good night for the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll see you next Monday from the Irish Hills of Michigan. Good night.
This copyrighted broadcast is presented under the authority of LSRTV LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations and may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form, nor the accounts and descriptions of this event disseminated in any way without the express written permission of Live Sim Racing TV. LSRTV would like to thank its loyal fans for their continued support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.